So far in this presentation, we've been concentrating on the point. Now I want to teach you how to use the edge of your machete. The long suit of fighting with the machete is the edge, not the point. This is a cutting, chopping weapon primarily, although the point can be used as we've demonstrated. Now I want to get into showing you all the different ways you can use the edge of your machete. But before I do that, I want to talk about how important it is to have the correct attack angle of your edge and how important it is to keep your wrist straight. I'm going to call Robert out here. And if I see him start to load to hit me, and I can pick that arm off, I want to come in here at about a 35-degree angle, right here, using about the third of my blade. That's where I want to hit him, right there. So I have some weight just slightly overlapping that arm. I'm going to attack at about a 35-degree angle, and I'm going to go right through that arm, and I'm going to lop it off. And I'm going to be very careful to keep my wrist straight through that entire cutting motion. Quite often, especially people that train with round trainers, don't have the right angle when they use a real edge weapon, and they let their wrist turn when they hit. And what happens is you get a J-shaped cut. It comes down and it goes in and starts to go out to the side like that. And you don't get the penetration that you were meant to have. You don't realize the full cutting power of your machete because your attack angle was wrong or you let your wrist bend somewhere during the cutting stroke. So it's really important that you get the right attack angle. I don't want to come like this and just scrape down his arm, right? I have to step and get the angle I want so that I can cut into that at the right angle, keep my wrist straight, lop that arm all the way off. Okay, so that's really important. With that said, I want to show you some different cutting strokes. The first one I want to teach is the slash. Now the slash is kind of like the speed jab with the point. All you're trying to do is injure to degree. You want to get maybe 2 or 3 inches of the edge of your machete, starting at the point, this area right here, on the target, pull it through and get out. Now, when you're slashing and cutting, always remember that the butt is being pulled back towards yourself. I don't care if you're cutting forehand or backhand. You're always pulling back in towards your body. So when you see him raise that and I slash that, all I'm trying to do is not cut that arm off. I want to get a little bit of this edge on and pull out. That's how you use a slashing stroke. It's not a big telegraph stroke. When he comes up, I'm not going to go like this. I want to just come in here like this. So I'm going to extend my arm with that slash. I'm going to extend my arm, orient my edge, make contact, pull it through and get out. So it looks like this. And I'm moving. I don't stand still for his return stroke. I beat feet, reassess, move on him, and let that blood go. Drip, drip, drip. When that blood starts to drip, his mind is going to be horribly affected by that. Okay, he's not the same fighter he was before I slashed him. I've taken away a lot of his fighting ability with that simple slash. So you need to get good at it. Now you can slash, like I said, you can slash forehand. You can slash backhand. I can be moving this way and slash those knuckles as I exit. Or I can be coming here and just slash and get out. Okay? I can slash down like this. Or I can slash up and just get a little taste. You just want to get a taste. You're not trying to cut his whole hand off. You're just trying to injure to a degree. If you get a few fingers and they hit the ground, God bless you. That's great. But you're just trying to open that skin up and penetrate him and give him some blood and some pain to think about and to take away his will to fight. Now, a cut is kind of like a slash, but you're going to use more power and you're going to use more of the edge. If I want to cut Robert's arm and he comes in here, I'm going to make contact further down the blade, maybe in the third, even to the middle of the blade. The middle of the blade would be optimum because here I can pull the whole edge through. But people don't stand still when you try to cut them. To get your whole blade on somebody and pull it through in a cut is pretty optimistic. So if you get a good portion of the blade on him, pull that through and get out. So you hit him here, and my arm scribes that circle, and I'm going to move out. Or I'm going to come through here and go this way and cut through. All right? But what I'm trying to do is get that edge, this middle part of the blade, on his arm, pull that through. And the way it pulls through is I strike and I pull that butt back towards myself for my recovery. So as it comes through here, bang, I cut him, and now I'm moved another direction. All right? That's how you cut somebody with a machete. You're using more commitment than with a slash. A slash, it's almost always just from your hands. I'm just moving quickly. I just don't want to be there. I just want to slash him and get back out. I'm too afraid to commit. I see a better opening though, and now, bang, I cut him. Sorry, Robert, that was a little hard. He didn't have a van brace on there, and I'm using an aluminum trainer. But you're using more power with the cutting stroke. So remember, you can slash, forehand or backhand. You can cut, forehand or backhand. You can slash up on either side. You can slash down. You can slash across. And we're going to go into this more, okay? So that's how you use cuts and slashes. Now, a chop differs from a cut or slash because you don't pull the handle back toward yourself. It's always going away from yourself. When you're chopping something, you're trying to sever. Just hang on right there. What you're trying to do when I'm chopping is I'm going to take, again, the middle of my blade or the first third. I want to contact that arm like this. And I'm going to sever it. I'm not going to pull the edge through. I'm going to drive that edge through, if you will, and shear that arm off. I want to shear it off like a butcher would a chicken with a cleaver. I just want to cleave it all the way in half so the blade always goes away from myself. So when you're chopping, you're driving the blade away. When you're cutting, you're pulling the blade back. All right? That's the main difference between a chopping and a cutting stroke. Now, you can chop out. You can chop down. When you chop down, you drop your body weight. So remember, when you chop, you're always going to drive your blade through the target and shear it. You're not going to pull your handle back towards yourself. It's always going away from you. And remember, whenever you're going downward, you want to, in a downward direction, you want to drop your body weight. You drop your butt straight down to help you. You bend at the knees, okay? You don't lean over like this. You bend at the knees suddenly and drop your body weight into the blow. That's how you chop. Now, another way to use your edge in a chopping type motion, but it's not the same, it's called a hack. A hacking motion uses speed and repetition and accuracy to replace the power of a chopping stroke. What we're going to do is we're going to do the same shearing effect. That's what we want. We want to shear that target in half. But instead of driving through it all at once, we're going to use repetition and hitting the same place over and over again very rapidly to accomplish the same goal. If I wanted to hack Robert's arm off, I grab him at the wrist like this, and I pick my spot, and I hit it. Bang, 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 right in the same place every time very rapidly. Okay? Instead of winding up and going like this, crack, and trying to chop it off in one go, I'm going to use repetition and speed and hit the same area. I open the arm. I drive the blade in again, deeper, deeper. Now I'm on the bone. I crack the bone through. Now I'm on the other side of the bone, and on my fifth or sixth hit, my hacking stroke, off comes the arm. Now you say, Lynn, why would you want to hack when you could chop and take it off with one stroke? Sometimes you flippin' don't have the room and the time to use a chopping stroke. There isn't enough time to load, or there's no room to wind up and load to get the power to chop all the way through something. You may be in too confined an area for whatever reason. Maybe he's got you around the waist, like this. And I want to decide that I'm going to hack his leg off right there. So I pick my spot, and I go bang, 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 bang. My first cut opens that calf. My second cut cuts to the bone. My third hit splits the bone. My fourth blow severs the bone. And then all of a sudden, bang, his foot drops off. And I did it at light speed. Hacking can be really useful in confined areas, especially in the standing grapple. It can be useful on the ground. It can be used anytime there's restricted motion or no room, or anytime you can't bring power of a chopping stroke. So you need to learn to hack with your machete. Sometimes you see him swing, and you may get like this, and you're in close, and you go whack, 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 or hack right into his face. Just a buzzsaw like that in the same spot. You know, I'm only hacking from my wrist. Notice I'm not putting a lot of power into it, but I'm using real speedy strokes and repetition to hit the same spot over and over and over again at light speed. Just as fast as a trip hammer. Boom, 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 boom. That's how you want to hack. Make it your own. Practice that hacking stroke. Because of the machete's knife-like characteristics, you can use the edge in one of my favorite cutting techniques, which I refer to as the snap cut. The snap cut is kind of like the slash in that it's supposed to be a light, deft motion. It's not supposed to sever someone's arm or take their head off. It's supposed to injure to a degree and allow you to get out of the way and get to a place of safety or move to an advantageous position and continue your attack. The snap cut looks like this. From your on-guard fighting stance, you're going to extend your arm. When it's about halfway out, you're going to start dropping your wrist and driving the edge down into the target. As it hits the target, you're going to be retracting it on the same line and pulling it back, just like that. I'll show it from the side. So you're going to drive your arm out until it's about halfway out. Now your edge is going to descend. You're using your wrist now, and you're snapping that edge. You want to hit right here, right in this portion of the edge right here with your machete, not down here, up towards the tip. So you drive your arm out, snap it down, intersect the target, and then retract your arm. So it goes out, snaps, and comes back. Goes out, snaps, and comes back. Just like this. And you use that stroke to harass with, to drive with, to intercept. You can herd people with it. You can keep them off. It's really useful. You also use it quite often when a bigger, more powerful stroke won't get there in time. Lots of times you'll be moving around an opponent and you can see an opening, but it's only fleeting. So you look for that again. And the next time you see it, bang, you use your snap cut. If you used a harder motion that would bring more power and more effect, it wouldn't land in time. The opening is too small. The opportunity is too fleeting. The snap cut is so quick, it takes advantage of the smallest opening in your opponent's defense. The smallest gap, it finds its ways through, gets in, hits, and you get out, and it's really, really fast. You really need to practice this snap cut. I'm going to have Robert come out here. I'm going to illustrate it. When he comes on guard, I can snap cut down and come back out. So I move around him, see my opportunity, snap cut. I just drop the tip down into him, and I come right back. Sometimes I'll snap cut right down parallel to his blade, real close like this, so it's hard for him to see, right like this, and I'll aim and try to cut that thumb right off, okay? You can use the snap cut in a downward descending motion. You can bring it in here horizontally from the side. You got to use a little body English. See, I'll lean a little bit like this, and I'll flick my wrist like that. Bang! And I'll snap that, or I'll come this way and snap cut this way as I move around him. It doesn't just have to be in front of somebody doing this. You can come here and come out. You can come to this side and snap cut and come out. You can snap cut as you're going away. So you can drop your blade, look at him like you're retreating, and snap cut. So you can see, you can use the snap cut from all different angles. It's a real fast, speedy motion. You need to practice it again and again and again. Get in front of the mirror and make sure that it's mostly coming from your wrist. You punch your arm out halfway, snap that wrist, jump back. Snap that wrist, get back out. Your retraction should be just as fast as your initiation. Just like when you throw a jab when you're boxing, and when you jab, when you pull it back, should be faster than you stick it out. You want to retract it very quickly. Same thing with the snap cut. It's a stroke that you're going to use on offense and defense. You need to be really good at it, so practice it often. So far, I've taught you how to use the primary edge of your machete. Now I want to teach you how to use your sharpened false edge. Remember when we were talking about sharpening and customizing machetes, how you could sharpen the back of your blade 6 or 7 inches on the spine and turn that into an edge? Here's where this really becomes useful in a stroke we call the back cut. This was really popularized in Bowie knife fighting, where they used the sharpened clip point in a back cutting motion to intercept an incoming arm and cut it from a position and point in time and from an angle that's not expected. People primarily expect you to use the primary edge. They're not used to you cutting them with the back of the blade, okay? So that's where the back cut is really useful. To do the back cut, you'll be moving your machete around like this. You'll see an opportunity. I seldom stand in one place when I do it. I almost always squirt to the side. As I move to the side, this arm is going to rotate out. See how my wrist is going to turn up like this? I'm going to step to the side, and I'm going to drop, and I'm going to turn my wrist over like this. So this is the motion, like this. I'm going to take this false edge, and I'm going to snap it down onto the incoming hand if I can, if not onto his blade, but that targets the hand. I'm going to target that hand as I snap down like this. I'm going to recover. So I'm going to go like this, and I'm going to get out of there. So I very seldom do this. I almost always give ground and get out of the way. It really helps you also when you push off. It helps you get this right angle with your elbow. Your elbow has to turn out to turn the edge here down. So this elbow has to move up and out like this to accomplish that stroke. All right? Now, that is necessary in the body mechanics to get it, but also watch for that when someone uses a back cut against you, watch for that elbow to turn out and rise and cut it off. That's one of the ways you defend it, is you tack into that exposed elbow. But it's necessary to pull this off, so there's pros and there's cons of every technique, and that's one of the cons. The pro is it gets you off line, and it's very quick, and it attacks with a portion of the blade that your enemy isn't used to seeing. Now I'm going to call Robert out here, and we're going to show how you use that back cut. If I'm moving around like this, and I've already cut at his hand a couple times, and he's seen that. Now I move here, and as I'm going away, I turn the top of my edge, and I hit him with that back cut on the thumb, and smash that thumb or sever it, okay? I can also use it when he thrusts at me. From here, I can get offline and just use that back cut on his forearm, and smack that and give him a good cut on that. So it's useful both as a setup when you don't have anything, you're just moving around, and you get that back cut, or defensively, when he moves on you, I can get that back cut. There, I drove it into his forearm, like that. Crack. That's going to put your opponent in a world of hurt. You need to know how to use the top edge, the sharpened edge of your machete. You need to practice, stand in front of a mirror, and watch yourself. Comes out, turns down, snaps, recovers. It's not a ponderous motion, it's a quick motion. The elbow raises. As the elbow raises, the wrist snaps down, delivers the edge, and it recovers. Just like that. That's how you use the back cut. Continuing on with using the back of your machete's blade, the spine if you will. I just showed you how to use the back cut. Now I want to show you how to use the rest of the spine of the blade and what we call the wrap stroke. You can do this two ways. You can use the unsharpened edge, or you can use the flat. The main thing is what you're going to do is you're going to pull that edge back in toward yourself. You're going to wrap it around your opponent's defenses, and you're going to hit him with this edge right here. It's a pulling motion like this. You're going to pull it back into yourself like that, and that's what hits this back spine right there. Now, you have to use this with a little bit of caution because you're pulling your blade back into your own face. So if you think there's a possibility of you're going to miss when you do that wrap stroke, you better duck and let it go over the top of your head. Just in case, just as a backup. So if I swing this way and I see that the best thing for me to do at that point in the time is to hit with my spine, I may target his head with that wrap stroke. I'll swing it around, and if it doesn't hit or bounces or for whatever reason it's coming back towards myself, I'll duck underneath it and go around my head, and I'll come back ready to fight. I'm going to show you how to use it a little bit more. I'm going to trade this trainer off. It's a little too dangerous for this. And I want to show how to use this wrap stroke. First, I'll just have Robert stand there on guard. Let's say I miss here. Sometimes the fastest thing to do is not to turn the edge and cut back. This stroke misses, but all of a sudden I see an opening here. I might just want to come here and hit him with that spine of the blade in the neck, or come up here and target the temple. Or I could reach around here and hit him in the back of the head. That really hurts. That smack in the back of the head with that wrap stroke, or in the neck with the thin spine of that machete. Oh man, is he going to feel that? But maybe Robert pulls back and I miss this stroke. Oh, I got to duck underneath it. There. That's what you have to be careful of. So what you want to do with this wrap stroke is lots of times you'll get it this way. You'll miss your primary stroke. Bang, I'll take this. Maybe I'll get over here and I'll take him on the elbow. Maybe I'll come over here. I'll take him on the thumb. It's a stroke that returns back towards yourself. Normally you're cutting this way with the true edge, okay? You're cutting, or you're chopping out. The backstroke pulls back towards you, but it's really useful. It's kind of unconventional, but it's well worth having in your bag of tricks. You want to practice that stroke because quite often, for whatever reason, you end up where your edge is a little slower to put in action than the spine of your blade. So you may want to wrap stroke him like that. Wrap stroke him, wrap stroke him, wrap stroke him, wrap stroke him. It can go to the hands, it can go to the elbows, any bony part of the body, the face, the head, and the neck. Always remember though, if it misses and he pulls back, you may have to duck underneath it. So practice that wrap stroke gingerly, but get good at it. You'll want it when you're fighting with a machete. Now I want to teach you how to use your machete edge in a sawing motion. I taught this motion in my Warrior's Edge knife fighting tape. It's really useful for infighting or when you don't have a lot of room to swing your blade, and allows you to do damage in very tight quarters. And it's something you definitely want to have in your arsenal because the machete is really, really good for sawing. I'm going to have Robert come in here. And now you have to use your imagination. We're switching to foam trainers because this hurts like crazy with a steel blade or even an aluminum blade. You're not going to want to get this sawing motion done on your skin with aluminum or steel trainer, I promise you. So what I'm going to do whenever I'm going to be sawing is you have to imagine there's no room to cut or chop or stab. Because if I'm intellectually honest, those are more effective. You use sawing when you don't have room to use a more effective stroke. You're in real close quarters. Let's say we get locked up here and Robert's real close to me now, and he's tying me up, and he's got this arm blocked. All I can do now is I can take my machete. I've got his hooked. See this? I'm controlling his elbow right there. I'm going to drop my weight a little bit, but I can't free this arm. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my edge into his neck, and I'm going to saw like this from my shoulder, like that, back and forth. That doesn't even feel good through that, does it? Okay? Even through this bib, he can feel that foam trainer on his neck sawing back and forth. If that's a sharp machete blade, I'm cutting right through the sinew and the arteries and the veins in his neck. I mean, if I keep this up very long, his head's going to pop off. I'll cut his whole head off, right? So you can saw here, you can saw on the face, you can saw on the shoulder. Any available part of his body, you put the edge on it. If you can't move your arm, you move your shoulder. Let's move again. Look at, watch my shoulder move. My arm doesn't move, my shoulder does. Look at this. I can move my shoulder no matter what. Even if he tries to stop my arm, he can't keep my shoulder from moving. He can't stop that sawing. If it gets bad here, I just change. Now I can saw on his face. I can go back to his arm. Really difficult for someone to lock you up and to keep you from sawing with your machete. Now, you can saw with one hand or you can saw with two hands. Okay, again, let's say he doesn't have the machete. Drop that. I swing and he gets this way. Okay, I can take my blade like this and saw like that, him right off me. I can capture the back of the spine with my hand here. I can, and I'm going to teach this a lot more later, I could push it into him and shear, but better yet, I could saw him right off like that. I'm going to do horrible damage on his face when I take that machete and grind it back and forth in that sawing motion, right into the delicate bones and the soft tissue of his face. He's going to come off you like you were 500 degrees, okay? You were red hot. He's coming boiling off you. All right, sawing. Anytime you're tied up, you can saw his leg. We get in here, I can't do anything else. I can saw here on his calf. I could saw low. I could come up here and saw on his waist. I could come up here, saw on his arm, his neck. Very, very useful at close quarters with the machete. You got an 18-inch blade, you got a 24-inch blade, you can reach lots of soft spots with your machete and saw. I want you to have lots of options for using the edge of your machete. There's lots of ways to employ this edge. I've taught you a bunch. Now I'm going to teach you another one that's one of my favorites. It's called the drop stroke. The drop stroke is a non-telegraphed dropping attack usually on your enemy's weapon hand. And the main criteria is it has to be non-telegraphed. What I want you to do to practice this, I want you to come in your on-guard stance. Okay? Get in front of that mirror. Now, you can hold your machete in here close to your floating ribs, but for the drop stroke, I like to let it drift out a little bit further, so it's a little bit further in front of me. So my arm is still slightly bent, my elbow's in, my machete's right about here, okay? I'm going to see my target, but I'm not going to stare at it. Without any further ado, I'm going to drop my machete on it. I don't want to telegraph in the slightest my intention. You want to have a poker face. You want to mislead your opponent totally in what you're going to do. You're going to be moving around him, and you're going to be looking for that, and you're going to drop without any telegraphing whatsoever. Now, you can drop with just your arm, or you can drop by bending your knees and sinking your body weight more like you did when you chop. Now, the latter takes more commitment. It's a harder blow, but it takes more commitment, and it's a little slower to recover from. But this drop stroke hits like lightning, just like that. It's very, very sneaky. It's very hard to see coming, and it scores way out of proportion to what you think it might. And you can do it two ways. One, just from your arm, and the other with more added body weight as you bend your knees. And I'm going to have Robert come out here. I'm going to show this. When I see him moving around like this, I'm just going to drop. I'm here and I just come on guard, Robert. Just face me. Okay, I look at him like this. I'm going to move from out of range. I'm going to get an idea from my when I can touch him, and I'm going to drop without any telegraph whatsoever. As I move over here, I'm just going to drop. You can use it from our basic on-guard fighting position, like that, or you can use it with George Silver's position from here. I can move here like this and just drop. I can move and drop. I can move, and drop. Hits really hard, and it's really hard to see coming. If you practice it with no telegraphing whatsoever, it'll be effective, and you need to practice the drop stroke. The next cutting stroke I want to teach you is called the vertical whip. The vertical whip is one of my favorites, especially with a Bowie knife or a Tanto. It covers a lot of ground. It cuts a wide swath. You can use it offensively or defensively. It's a really good cutting stroke to have in your arsenal, and one that you want to practice often and use often. To do the vertical whip, what I want you to do, I want you to get in your on-guard fighting stance. Now, what you're going to do to set this up is your right arm, your knife or machete arm, is going to drift to your side. You're going to drop it slightly. Your elbow's going to lift. You're going to push forward. As you push forward, your edge is going to rise as your arm goes forward, and it's going to cut an elliptical arc like this. So as I push forward, I'm going to cut that arc, and as I cut through my target, I'm going to start my recovery. Watch my wrist turn, and I'm going to come back, and I'm going to repeat that motion, just like this. Now I can do this as I advance, or I can do it as I retreat. I can advance behind a vertical whip, or I can retreat behind a vertical whip. It's really, really useful. You can drive people with it, or you can hold them off. I really like it because it's a great change-up. You may cut like this a couple times, you cut down, and you go into your vertical whip. Now, here's one thing I don't like about it. To set it up from your on-guard position, your arm or your fist has to cross your body. You're not going to start your vertical whip from this side normally, although you can do it. Primarily, you're going to use it from this side of the body, so it has to drift over. Now, you can accommodate that exposure of your forearm, which is a fault, which is what you don't want to do. You can accommodate that by a motion. A slight sideways motion of your body or a little angling puts you in line and sets up that vertical whip. So if I want to do that vertical whip, I'm not just going to be obvious about moving my hand. I don't want to do that. I don't want to expose this forearm and this elbow unnecessarily. I want to hide that motion. So I'm going to turn this shoulder back, and I'm going to give a little step like this, and I'm going to set it up. Okay? That's how you hide it. So you may be moving, and now you're moving into your opponent in that vertical whip, or you're retreating behind it, and now you come back in your fighting stance, and you're ready to fight in another posture, in another way, use another technique. It's a great change-up. You can use it to drive people and hold them off. Now I'm going to have Robert come in here. I'm going to trade this one out. This trainer is too dangerous. And I'm going to show that vertical whip. Robert comes on guard, and we're moving around like this. And I may move here, and I vertical whip. Or I start, and I drive him back. He's getting close to me. Oh, get back, big boy. I'm going to drive him off. Or he's pressing me. Oh, shit, he's coming after me. And I'm going to put up that wall of steel. I'm going to vertical whip as I move backwards. Put that wall of steel in front of me and revolve it, okay? Now, remember, the vertical whip cuts a swath diagonally in front of my body. So I retreat behind it. It's cutting that swath, okay? It's cutting that swath as I go forward or as I retreat. It's really good to use defensively. If someone's attacking you on the street and you have a machete and they come forward, you can retreat behind your vertical whip. If they don't come forward, they can't possibly get cut. Because what you're going to do, stand there, you're going to move backwards and cut where you just were. If he stays in a neutral spot, he can't be possibly hurt. But if he intrudes on your space, he gets cut. Because as I give ground, watch where my blow lands, right where I was standing. My blow lands where I was standing just a moment before. That's why the vertical whip is so useful defensively and why you can defend its use in court.
Continuing on with circular strikes, I'm going to have Joey come in. All right, we're going to show you a circular strike, or the redondo that we call in the Filipino martial arts, can go on pretty much any orbit you want it to go. One way of using it might be if he goes 1 is to return it on the same line. So if he goes 1, I can return it back at him on the same line. Another way is maybe if his hand's out there, and if I swing at it and if he retracts it, I take the low line. Okay? So again, slowly. If his hand's up and he's ready, and if I swing, I change the angle and I take the low. So you go from the high to the low. Okay? We can also do this on the backhand. So put your hand up. If I go here, move it, I can take the low line here. So one more time, I can go 1 and then cut it here. Okay, so we have the forehand to the forehand. We have the backhand to the backhand. Now, when we're going, it can go on the straight line also. And just like Lynn had shown you, is the way he backs people up. We can go here, 1, 2, but we can go up and then up on this line. So 1, 2. So this comes from the forehand, actually from the backhand to the forehand side. So at times I might use that as if he's up and I feel he's going to go at me, I come up this way, and then when he tracks it, I come up back the other way again. So it doubles up on the angle. Okay? So we can also go from low to high. So I don't want to take his head, he's not wearing armor, but I'll act like I want the leg. When he retracts, I could take the face, or if he goes to hit me, I take the arm. And of course, obviously, if we take the low on the backhand, I can take it high on the forehand side. Okay, so it's just a little something for you to think about. The machete's pretty light, so you can get that whip through, and then you can take that line. So just play with it. You have the high to the low, high to the low. We can reverse it, low to the high, low to the high. We can go on one line right here, which Lynn had shown you previously, or we can go up and then up on the opposite side. Try that out.
Now that you know how to use your edge of your machete, I've taught you how to cut and slash and hack and chop and saw and how to use the back of the blade. Now I want to quickly go over some targets for your edge. I'm going to have Robert come in here. And like I said, the primary purpose of your machete is to cut and chop. The long suit is the edge. So the first thing, the best thing you could do to an opponent, if you can, is get in here, hit him on the top of the head, and split his head like a watermelon. I want you to cleave him from the head to the chin. Lay him wide open. Now, to do that, you got to go back to keeping your machete sharp. My friend Matthew Matabula was at a big beer party one night about 8 years ago, and his brother got in a fight with some other guy, and Matthews came to his aid, and out of the crowd, one of this guy's friends came and hit Matthews, bang, on the top of the head with a machete. And by the grace of God, it was a dull one. It had been used in the field for days, hadn't been resharpened, the edge was blunt. He had a hat on which helped cushion some of the blow, and he has thick curly hair which also helped cushion some of the blow. I don't have that, so it probably would have killed me, and it left a big scar in his head. I mean, he's got a line right through his scalp. You can see to this day where that machete hit him. I mean, if it had been sharp, he'd have been dead for sure. As it was, he got a pretty severe concussion. He was in the hospital for a few days, but he survived. If you've got a razor-sharp machete and you know how to deliver that stroke with power, bang, you could split his head, all right? So that splitting the head open and cracking the skull open and getting a peek at his brains is a flipping good idea with the machete. I know that sounds pretty gross, but we're talking about using these things in life and death situations to preserve your life. And sometimes you can't be mamby-pamby about it. You've got to take them out, all right? So hitting the top of the head and splitting the skull open is a good target. After that, hitting the face. I like to target the eyes with the edge. I'll slash or cut or chop across the eye in a diagonal direction. If I'm just cutting, I'll come in here like this. I'll cut, try to hit right up here on the forehead. Come across that eye socket, come across, shear the nose off, you get the corner of the mouth, it'll come down here, it'll bite on the shoulder, and it'll clear. Now, I've done this on flesh and blood targets. I know what I'm talking about. Your machete blade will go all the way through to the skull, all the way across on that stroke. It's going to go through the skin and all the underlying flesh. You may or may not take the eye out, okay? But you're definitely going to impede his vision. severely. The blood is just going to rain down his face when you cut that forehead. Comes across like this. You're going to shear that nose off. You're going to cut through his lips, and you're going to come out across his chest where you're going to empty right here, and you're going to be in a position for another stroke. So cutting the face is a really good idea. You can cut it forehand or backhand, okay? You can come up here, and you can snap cut him in the mouth. You can snap cut him in the eye. You can snap cut him right on the nose, shear his nose off. Or what I've done quite often before, and again, I'm not going to go into all the details, but I've used this snap cut on the forehead like this, and just crack right here on the forehead like that. It didn't knock that receiver out, but it rang their bell and blood flowed down the face. It was really, really a good technique. Crack right there at that snap cut. Bong! His whole head's going to reverberate. And the blood, because you hit the forehead and the scalp, is going to open up and just come down and rain down his face. Really good target. Okay, that's the face. The mouth is always good to cut. The neck is a prime target. You always want to cut into the neck if you can with your machete. You can slash the neck or you can chop into the neck, all right? The carotid arteries are located here below the ear, right here on either side, okay? And you also have the throat here. So you can slash the throat or you can cut through those or you can come over here and just chop into the neck like that. And if the head doesn't come all the way off, it'll flop. When you take your machete that's razor sharp and come in here and you target that neck with that hard stroke, if his head doesn't come flying off his shoulders, you're going to cut more than halfway. I say 2/3 of the way through that neck. It'll be flopping, okay? He'll be out of commission. He'll be on the ground doing the chicken, okay? He's done. On either side, you can cut the neck. You can also cut between the neck and the shoulder, right here through the collarbone into the chest. This is a favorite target of the Gurkhas with a heavy kukri. They come in here and they chop just right through here. And what you do is you come through the clavicle and from the back through the shoulder blade, which isn't as tough as you think, and your blade will come down here in the chest cavity. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. A machete's got a thin blade, and it's flexible. It's not a katana, it's not a saber, it's not a broadsword like you saw in Rob Roy. When you make this cut, you're not going to go clear down here into the middle of his chest with a machete. But you're in all likelihood going to come through this muscle right here, split this clavicle, and you're going to get into the chest cavity. When you break this collarbone, that arm is finished. He can't use it anymore. When you cut through the shoulder blade and cut through that clavicle, he can't fight with this arm anymore. He's going to be really, really damaged, all right? So that's a good target. You can strike it forehand or backhand. Okay, going down the arms. You can hit him on the arms with your machete, and yes, you can cut through the muscles, you may break the bone, but it's not necessarily, you're not necessarily going to do a fatal or lethal damage cutting them on the arm. Smacking them on the elbows, though, whenever you see an elbow like that and you clip that with your machete, that's a good thing. I mean, when you get this and you go clang on the outside of that, you chip off and break off that elbow, his arm is really going to be compromised. He's not going to use it very well. His mind's going to be going to that injury, and quite often you can attack, opposed to this one, you can attack that elbow as you move away and knock off an inch of his elbow and just shear it right off with your machete, okay? That's a really good target to pick out. People expose their elbows all the time. When they load, when they move, this one moves. It's always something that's being exposed, especially by the untrained fighter. Look to pick those off with your machete from the front. The inside of the arms are preferred. I much prefer here to cut the brachial artery, cut through the bicep. The brachial artery is located up in here. You cut that through, he's going to be bleeding like a stuck pig, okay? Lots and lots of blood. If he doesn't get medical attention, he's going to be in deep trouble. It can be a lethal wound. The inside of the forearm, cutting these tendons in here that control his ability to grip his weapon is a really good thing. So cutting the inside of the forearm is a good idea. Cutting the fingers, always, always a prime target. If I slash those fingers, if I chop that thumb off, okay, anytime I can attack that hand with my machete, it's a really good thing. All right, so we've got his arms, we've got his face, we have his neck. Cutting his torso on here on the top, the machete is going to have a hard time cutting through these ribs and going into the lung cavity. If you have a kukri or a heavy Bowie knife or a heavy cutlass, you have a better chance. This blade is thin, it's light and fast, but it doesn't have a lot of mass, doesn't have a lot of percussive power to split all those ribs. It may or may not get through into the chest cavity. If you have a clear shot and that's it, and that's when you have, certainly take it, okay? But I'm just saying that it may or may not go all the way through the ribs. Now, going down the body, the gut pile is a really good target. It's a soft target. You can attack the machete easily into this with your sharp edge here and slice that open, and his entrails will spill out, okay? You may or may not be able to get into the spleen. You may or may not be able to get into the liver. But this area that's not protected by the rib cage is a prime target for your machete to cut that, okay? Now you can cut it with your edge, and if you have a sharp false edge, you can use a Polish cut, which I haven't taught, and just rip it this way. So you swing your machete this way, you catch them with that sharp tip, and you just rip it open, okay? Now, that's dependent on a sharp machete with a sharp point and a sharp false edge. But it's a change-up stroke, and I thought I'd throw it in there because the abdomen is the perfect place to direct a Polish cut to. Now, moving down the legs. The outside of the legs are nice to chop into. There's a lot of meat there. Now, remember, you've got an 18-inch blade. It cuts a wide swath. It's not a 6-inch blade of a fighting knife or a 7.5-inch blade or even a 9.5 or 10-inch blade. It's an 18-inch to 24-inch blade. You can target a wide area. Put this leg forward, Robert, so they can see. When he puts weight on that, see all that quadricep right there? One thing that steel loves is muscle. Steel loves muscle. So you come in here, like Ron said, and you fake him up high, and you drop low, and you cut that with your machete. I like to cut at a diagonal angle across that. When you cut the muscle diagonally, it pops open and has a harder time to close. So it's a more impairing wound to cut it at a diagonal, okay? So you want to cut this at a diagonal. Sometimes you'll reach in, and sometimes you'll pop in like Ron showed you here and cut and get prepared to come out. But cutting the outside of that leg, either at the thigh or the calf, is a good idea. Now, when you cut to the calf, be prepared. Sometimes you get in here with the machete and you drop and you cut hard there, he's going to flop. You can cut the whole leg off. You've got a 24-inch machete that's razor sharp. You swing it hard, great things happen, okay? That bone is green, that flesh is live, it's easy to cut. Now, so watch for that. On the inside of the leg, let's switch. You can target the knee here. Come in here and drive your edge into that knee, or the inside of the thigh, or the inside of the calf. You can also, from here, it's one of my favorites, is sometimes I'll feint at his hand, and I'll feint at his hand. And when I come in here, instead of feinting his hand, I'll drop, and I spared Robert's toe there on purpose, but I'll split his foot right here. I got a chance to train with some Maasai warriors in Tanzania in 1999, and we did some impromptu stick fighting. And one of the first things I did that worked like crazy, when they put a lot of pressure on me, I feinted at their face, and when their stick went up, I dropped. I used maybe a medium stroke and hit him on the top of his tennis shoe. I mean, he was a one-legged hopper after that. That was the end of the fight. That was the end of all the challenges and all the bullshit. He was hopping and carrying on, and that was the end. You take your machete, and you distract his attention, and you distract his attention, and then, bang, you drop and cut his foot in half. Right here, you go split it all the way back, clear up here to his ankle, very easily with the machete. Talking about the ankle is really delicate. The top of the foot and the ankle, really delicate. When Ron and I are training, one of our favorite techniques is to kick the ankle. Ron's been working on with this me for years, and I'm getting good at it, is to take that guy's ankle. You kick him on the ankle, he is in a bad way, okay? You can take a lot of pressure once you get used to it, getting kicked or hit on the thigh, but you can't train the ankle to take pressure. You get hit hard there, you're in a world of hurt. The ankle's a good target. Let's spin. From the back, again, I want to hit him here on the back of the head like that and split it if I can. Now, Robert's 6'3". That's a reach for me to come up here and hit him, okay? I'd be probably better for myself to come over here and target here, his neck, collarbone, shoulder juncture, right here. But if you're tall enough, you can also come in here and hit at the base of the skull, right here, or at the base of the neck, right there, and just sever it right off. I'm only 5'9". That's more of a reach for me. You can also come in here and hit him on the spine, right here. Takes accuracy, you hit him right there on the spine as hard as you can and sever some vertebrae. If you cut that spinal cord, he's going to be flopping like a fish out of water, okay? He's all going to be disconnected below that severed spot of the spine. So that's a good spot to attack. I've personally use the machete on a fairly large animal, about a 150-pound animal, and hit it a medium stroke on the spine like that from the side and severed the spine quite easily. Okay? So it's not out of bounds or out of range to cut the spine and sever the spine with the machete. You've got a sharp machete and a strong arm, and you study this tape and you're employing it correctly with power, you can easily sever the spine. Cutting the buttocks, yes, it can impair their ability to move, especially as they open, they don't want to close, and your buttocks is one of the largest muscles in your body. It's your driving force in motion, so it's pretty vital, but it's not a lethal wound. You're better off, though, to cut his hamstring or his Achilles tendon, okay? I always say the safest place to be in a fight with edged weapons is behind the person. So come on, face me, Robert. If he swings and I can get behind him here, and I can drop and I can take out his calf, let's go to the other side here so they can see that. What I'll do is I want to get here and follow his blow and drop right here and cut him on the calf like that. If I can pop his Achilles tendon right there or come down here a little lower and hit it, hey, I'm in a really good spot here. So whenever you can, get behind that guy, come here and drop and cut him right there. That was a little hard. These things hurt. I mean, just this little foam trainer dropping on your calf. Can you feel that? I could sense it. I go, Lynn, that was a little too much. This is a foam trainer. This isn't a steel blade. This isn't razor sharp. Look how thick the edge is that. The machete blade is about 2 millimeters or thinner in thickness, and it's razor sharp. That Achilles tendon is going to go bong and pop. That calf muscle is going to be shredded. You're going to sever right through it with a sharp machete. Get behind them and take the hamstring, which runs right down the middle of the quad here, or the Achilles tendon right there. Cut those things. It's a huge advantage, okay? So there you have it. The targets for the machete from the front and from the rear. Go through this tape and make sure that you're intimately familiar with all the spots that you want to employ your edge, okay? Because you don't want to swing blindly. You just don't want to swing in the general direction. Use some science and target the spots you want with your edge correctly. Now I want to continue my teaching on how to use the machete to defend yourself with, and I want to teach you how to use the flat of the blade. The flat of the blade is employed when you want to limit the damage that you want to do to your opponent or enemy, or when you want to move his blade or weapon out of the way so you can enter. I'm going to have Robert come out here, and I'm going to show how you can use the flat of the blade to beat and to smash with, okay? When he's on guard like this, there is an obstacle between me and his torso and face, okay? Here's his prime targets. This is in my way. So I can beat that out of the way with the flat of my machete. I can come up here like this and beat it out of the way from forehand or backhand. What I want to do is I want to move it out of the way so that I can enter. Maybe I only beat it far enough to get this. Maybe I beat it out of the way far enough to come in deep and snap cut his face, okay? It's up to you. You can play with this. Sometimes, I do this a lot in saber fencing, I'll be here and I'll beat his blade continually. I'll just constantly beat that blade and F with his mind. I'm constantly making him uncertain. I'm making him uncomfortable. Every time I can reach that blade, I'm giving it a smack, okay? It's jarring and he doesn't like it. And you can use it as a setup. I can fake that and then step over here and cut that hand if I condition him a little bit to it, all right? So you can beat the blade as a way to remove an obstacle on your path in. You can beat the blade as a feint to set up another attack, or you can beat him with the flat of the blade. Let's say that Robert doesn't have a machete. He's 6'3". He's 265 pounds. I'm a pretty highly skilled fighter. I've been training for many years, and I take a lot of private lessons, and I do a lot of sparring and a lot of fighting. I'm a pretty highly skilled fighter. But Robert's an enormous guy. He's 6'3", I'm 5'9". He's 265 pounds. I'm not going to fight him with my hands and feet unless there's no other choice. If I have a machete in my hand, I'm going to use my machete. Now, am I going to cut him down? Am I going to cut his arm off because he's menacing me? No, that's an inappropriate response, okay? Don't be a punk and a bitch and use your machete and maim or kill somebody because they're assaulting you with their hands and their feet. There's other options. We talked about that in our continuum of force. Stay out of jail, use your head. But there's nothing in the law books that say you have to let this great big guy beat the crap out of you, maybe give you double vision for the rest of your life, maybe give you a detached retina, maybe break your jaw, knock out your teeth, and wreck your palate so you can never chew or eat corn on the cob again. Maybe he'll damage your spleen or liver by pounding the crap out of you. You don't know what's going to happen. But don't start off by cutting his arm off or maiming him or hacking into his neck. You can use the flat of your blade here. So when he puts his hands up and I've got my machete, the first thing I'm going to do is break his thumb. Bang! I'm going to come on this side here, this with the flat of my blade, and I'm going to break his thumb here, and I'm going to turn back, and I'm going to hit him. So you can use your flat of your blade to beat with. You're not going to kill him. You're not going to maim him. You're not going to wreck the rest of his life forever if you hit him on the thumb with the flat of your machete, or you hit him on the hand. So I can hit him on this hand and take over and take that hand and break both those hands. Now, he just got smashed like light speed. You can hear that impact. What's that going to be with a steel blade, okay? So I smash his hand like that. He's going to go, ah! So I go here, and I take the other one. Bang, bang. They both get it. Now, I'm back, and I'm leaving the scene. He's got 2 broken hands or swollen hands. That's the end of the fight, all right? So you can use your machete to beat with. You can beat the hands. You can beat the outside of the arms. You can beat the legs. In Mexico and throughout Central and South America, getting a beating with a machete is a common occurrence. It's extremely painful, and quite often, though, it's non-lethal. You get enormous welts. Sometimes, you get some tearing of the skin, but you get enormous welts and bruising and stuff, but it's not very often it's fatal. You hit somebody on the outside of the arm, the outside of the forearm, the point of the shoulder, the outside of the legs with the flat of your machete. It hurts, but it's not lethal. It's low on your force continuum. Now, if you want to go up your force continuum, you can use the unsharpened spine. If I take that unsharpened spine and I start hitting him, bang! I'm certainly going to hit him on the thumb. I'm going to break his thumb like that. I've taken all that force and concentrated it on an area only 2 millimeters thick. So now I hit him on the thumb. I move over here. I hit him on the bicep. Okay? That skin is going to be depressed against the bone, and it's going to split open. Okay? So I'm going to open up his arm. Am I going to cut his arm off? No. Am I going to break his arm? Maybe. Okay? So going up the force continuum would be using the spine of your blade. All right? So you've got your machete can be used to beat with, or it can be used to punish. You can beat somebody's weapon out of the way, or you can beat and smash them with it, okay? You can slap the face with it also as you go up the force continuum. If it's getting bad and you get here and he swings with the other hand and you block that and he swings again and you cover, maybe now I'll smash him on the face. I'll hit him with the flat of the machete on the face. The Gurkhas in World War II, when they took Japanese prisoners in Burma, sometimes those guys were enormously arrogant. They didn't want to be captives, and they were real resentful that these Gurkhas took them captive. So they would give them a hard time, and quite often a Gurkha would take the flat of his kukri blade and just give him a slap on the face like that. Well, you only had to have one illustration for an entire company, and they all became Christians and did exactly what you wanted them to do from then on. You slap somebody in the face with a machete or on the ear, it's bad. Is it lethal? Probably not. But you're going up the force continuum because when you target the face, there's always a chance that you can maim them or do damage to their eyes. So you want to reserve that as you move up higher on the force continuum when you slap or beat the face, all right? The safest things to do when you're using this is to hit the hands and the outside of the arms and body. It's always safer to hit the hands, the outside of the arms, and the outside of the legs, all right? That's the safest place where you're going to less likely to do permanent damage when you're smashing and beating with your machete. When you go up the force continuum, remember you use the spine. You can hit somebody in the head with that spine. Sometimes, in some survival situations, if you can't get resupply, especially in the military, you can take people out just with the spine. If you target that head, bang, you can crack that skull and kill them just hitting them in the spine, so the spine of your machete on the head. So the head's the last place, the head and neck are the last places you want to target with your machete when you're slapping or using the spine. The rest of the body, you can pretty much attack with impunity and without fear of doing mortal or lethal damage. Now I want to continue and teach you how to use the butt or pommel or puño, if you will, of your machete. The butt or pommel can be used as a percussive instrument. You can hit and punch and hammer with the butt or puño of your machete. I'm going to illustrate this. There's lots of different ways and times. Most of them are at medium to close range. If Robert cuts number 1, and I come over here and I use a low roof block, okay, and he goes to punch me, I can drive down, and from here I can punch him right in the neck and start hammering him if I wanted to with the butt or pommel of my machete. Sometimes I might be here and I'll come right in here like this and hit him on the bicep. And when he goes to swing his other hand, I'll come over here and just give him a gouging punch to stop his forward motion, or just push him here with the pommel when he starts to punch me. So it can be used to push with, it can be used to gouge with, it can be used to hammer with, it can be used to punch with. There's lots and lots of instances. We're just going to sit here and I'm going to flow and I'm going to show some of the ways that I can use that puño. From here, I'll lift, come in here, and there I couldn't reach him, but I just still hammered him with my forearm and knocked him off balance. When I got him here, I just hit him. Now I could just drop on him with my blade. If he comes in here and he stabs at me, I can come over here and hit the palm. You can hear that smack on his vambrace right there. That didn't feel good. I'm controlling this arm. I can hit him right here in the back of the neck and take him. Okay? So there's lots of instances, particularly as you move to close range. When I get in here like this, sometimes it's faster to hit him right in the eye with the extension right here, the return of my machete. I'm right here, bang, that goes into his eye. I give him that little chop, I scoop that out, and I give him another one. Okay? You keep this thing moving all the time at close range. Sometimes he'll cut at me, and we go to close range, and I'll get in here, and we'll tie up. And he'll go to grab me with both hands, all right? I'll come here, and I may switch. I'll come over here, and I'll drive the butt of that machete, that puño, into his face, driving him off. Always be ready to hammer with the butt of your machete. Sometimes it's the only thing that you can put into action at that moment in time. Sometimes the space is limited. You can't saw, you can't hack, you can't slash and chop, but quite often you can puño, okay? Let's just flow a few more things. I come in here, I hit the arm, hit the neck. Let's come from the other side. I come in here, I hit the arm, I hit the face. Okay? I come here, and I hit this, and hit that. You all right? Cuts here. Bang, 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 and just keep going. Okay? You can use the pommel percussively all the time, especially when you're in close. For whatever reason, whenever the edge doesn't seem like it's the perfect thing to use at that time, quite often the pommel is closer. Sometimes your edge is out of the way, either this way or behind you or off to the side, and it's faster to use the pommel than it is to pull through and cut him. So get really good and used to that. Drop that for a second, especially when a big guy like that, sometimes, and we're going to talk about this later, he's going to charge in there and he's going to try to get and pick you up. When he grabs you, you're going to bounce and center like this. Now, I can hit him here, right now on the kidney. I can come over here and I can puño or pommel the back of his neck. I can go back to his kidney again. I can hit his spine. I can come over here and use my whole forearm, drop on his neck, knock him in the ground. Look at, when he grabs me around the waist like this and I base, I come over here and I just drive his neck. How'd that feel, Robert? Not kind and gentle, did it? And I was going slow and nice. You can just take that whole thing and smash him right to the ground. Be hungry to use your pommel. Be familiar with it. Now, when you're training with your partners, you've got to get armored up, you've got to be kind and gentle, and you've got to experiment how and when and where to use your pommel. Practice it. I know you'll be glad you did. Okay, now you know how to use your point and edge and the flat of your blade and the butt. I want to teach you more about the meat of this presentation as we go into offense and defense more proactively. The first thing I want to talk about is how to recognize incoming attacks and how to coordinate and to lay out your own attacks. And the best way I know how to do that is to teach you the 12 angles of attack that were taught to me by Guru Dan Inosanto in 1983 at UC Irvine in a week-long college seminar I was fortunate enough to take then. And what Dan said was that there's almost unlimited possibilities for an attack to come from, the direction it can come from. Any point on the compass. Let's pretend there's a circle in front of us, and there's 360 degrees on that great big giant circle. Attacks can break off at any point on that circle and come at you, okay? But what Dan said was that most attacks come at 12 different points on that circle. He calls those the 12 angles of attack. I'm going to teach them to you. Now, it's really important that you get familiar with these angles of attack. We call this line familiarization. I'm going to say it again because it's super important, both offensively and defensively, that you get good line familiarization. What I'm saying is I want you to become very familiar at the line or angle that incoming attacks come at, so that you recognize them early as they're just getting started, and you can respond that much quicker to them, both defensively and offensively. So the first angle that I want to teach is what we call the number one angle. Get in your fighting stance, come on guard. A number one angle is a downward descending cut at the side of your neck, like this. That's angle number one. Now, it can be cut down there, or you can stab down that line. So you can cut down that angle, or you can stab down that angle. It can come down and stab up, or it can stab down and cut back up that angle, okay? So remember, you're almost always on the horns of a dilemma when you're fighting with a knife or a machete or any edged weapon, because it can change direction so quickly. A cut can turn into a stab. A stab can turn into a cut. But they're following that angle across the body like this, that goes up and down at this angle, okay? That's number one. Forehand, number one. Backhand is the same thing at the neck on the other side, like this. So you've got number one, number two. Now 3 and 4 are horizontal blows across the center line of the body. The center line runs from my head all the way down between my feet. 3 and 4 bisect that, cut that right in half. So 3 can come pec high, can come across my chest. It can come across my upper abdomen. It can come across my waist. It's any forehand blow coming like this, along this angle, this height. The height changes, but it's this direction. 4 is backhand, the same way. It can come pec height. It can come high abdomen. It can come clear at your waist, all right? So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Now 5 is any straight stabbing motion down your center line. Remember the center? It can come at your face, it can come at your neck, it can come at your belly, it can come at your groin. It's any straight thrusting motion, all right? Now 6 and 7 are downward descending stabbing motions, okay? So 6 will come downward descend this way, and 7 comes backhand, downward descending this way. Now originally, these were targeted at the opening inside the cuirass, or body armor of Spanish soldiers. This is a Filipino numbering system I'm giving you, and it also today works to defeat body armor. Okay, it gets inside the body armor and goes down inside the collarbone into the chest cavity. If you get your point inside the collarbone, it goes straight through. There's nothing but mush in the way, nothing but soft tissue. Once you break the skin, it just goes right in. So you need to be careful and familiar with downward descending angles like this, 6 and 7. So this is 6, and 7 is backhand, downward descending. Now, 8 and 9 are targeted at the head. 8 comes on this side of the head, and 9 comes on this side. So you've got 6, 7, 8, 9. Now 10 and 11 are rising ankles. 10 comes forehand, up, starts here, right about the knee. It can come from the knee up. It can come from the thigh up. It can come from the waist up. It can come from the abdomen up. It's a rising diagonal cut. Now it can stab that way too. It doesn't just have to cut. You can stab up on these diagonal angles, all right? 11 is backhand, the same way. There's your 11 stroke. Rising, 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 okay? Now 12 is straight down your center line or straight up the center line. You cut straight down, when you turn over, cut straight up. Straight down, straight up. Okay? Now, let's go through it again. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 down, 12 up. Now, Remember, sometimes to get these angles, especially 10 and 11, you're going to have to adjust your body. See how my hips kind of turn? I've got to twist a little bit to get the body English to cut up. To get the body English to cut up, all right? So you can't always stand there like a pillar of salt. You'll hear me say that a lot. You just can't stand with your feet rooted 10 inches deep in concrete and cut these angles. Sometimes you have to move a little bit to get them. So get in the mirror and cut these 12 angles of attack again and again and again. Once you get used to that, have your training partner come out and trade off. I'm going to have Robert come in here. And sometimes it's good just to get used to cutting these angles and see what you're doing on another person. Robert's just going to stand there, and I'm going to be the aggressor, and I'm going to cut. 1, I'm targeting the side of his neck. 2, the other side of his neck. 3, right across the abdomen. 4, right across the abdomen. 5, a straight stab. Maybe in his chest, maybe in his throat. 6, a downward descending stab. 7, a downward descending stab. 8, a downward descending cut at the side of his head. A downward backhand cut with the other side on. 9, 10, a rising cut at his thigh coming this way. 11, a rising cut. And 12, straight down his center or straight up his center on the return. Okay? Now, the number 12 stroke is an enormously important stroke. I want you to hear me well. The number 12, the straight downward stroke through the center of your body, not to the right, not to the left, right down the center of your body is enormously important because it cuts through all the bullshit that your opponents throw. Sometimes people are moving their blades all around from right and left and stuff, and what they're doing is, as they do that, they're closing and opening their lines. As Robert's forearm moves this way, he closes the line and then he opens it. As he closes it, he exposes his forearm to that 12 stroke coming straight down. As he opens it, he exposes his torso. Okay? So if he goes real slow and I see that, and I see, oh, he's making lots of stuff like this, I'm going to cut there. I caught him as he's closing the line. He cuts again, and here I caught him as he's opening the line. Okay? So you cut right straight down that, and you just kind of time it. And when you see him coming like that, and you're a little confused, when in doubt, cut 12. Right straight down the center of his body. Not to the right, not to the left. You'll be surprised how often you get a terrific score with that number 12 stroke. When you don't know what to do, when you're in doubt, we always say, cut number 12. Those are the 12 angles of attack. You need to practice those. There's lots of different angles that attacks can come on, but these are the major ones. Get used to seeing that. When you see that number 1, you want to learn to pick that up. When he comes to number 2, you want to learn how to pick that up. When he comes to number 3, I may want to pound that down and pick that up. Get really used to doing that. We're going to go more into this when we show more on defense, but practice those 12 angles of attack. I know you'll be glad you did. As I said at the beginning of this presentation, the machete is not ideal for using defensively. Yes, you can block with it and you can counter slash, and there's lots of things you can do, which I'm going to teach a little later, but it's best to get out of the way. It's not the ideal defensive tool. It's not real strong and stiff like a 10.5-inch Bowie knife. It's not long and straight and thick like a cutlass or a saber. It's thin and flexible, and so it's not the ideal defensive tool. So when you can, the best idea when you're fighting with a machete is to use your footwork to take you to safety. Use your footwork to get out of the way and avoid attack. Don't depend on blocking and parrying and counter slashing. Make it miss, step back in, counter cut, counter stab. Make a miss, step back in, counter cut, counter stab. Okay? Footwork is the key. Now, I went through a bunch of footwork drills earlier. Now I want to concentrate again, a little review on the ones that are most useful defensively. The first and most important to my mind is that leg replacement. Remember, you're going to get in your on-guard fighting stance, you're going to pull your leg back, touchdown, and get out of the way. Pull it back, touchdown, get out of the way. Pull it back, touchdown, get out of the way. Practice this again and again. If you find yourself getting hit in the leg, you need to, in your training, in your solo training, you need to do this drill again and again and again, okay? In reps of 20. Do 20, do something else, do another 20, do something else. do something else again, do another 20, 100, 200, 300 times, 3 or 4 times a week, and you know what? Within a month or so, you'll find you're not getting hit in the leg almost never. You'll see that attack coming, you'll move your leg out of the way, and you'll be in a good place to counter from. Now, remember, when you're fighting a long weapon, this simple leg replacement may not be sufficient. You may want to push back and do a leg replacement. So you're going to push back, do a leg replacement, and recover. So you're going to push back, do a leg replacement, and recover. Push back, and then recover, okay? That gives you another 6 to 8 inches. You see that attack coming. He's got a saber. You're going to go push back, vacate the space, step back in, and go on the attack. Remember, your machete is much faster than any sword. His is heavier and stronger, but yours is lighter and defter. Far faster than any sword or any other cut and thrust edged weapon, except for a knife, okay? So your machete is like lightning. Take advantage of it. Get out of the way, move back and get out of the way, and come back on attack. Now, the next one you use a lot is just a simple single-step retreat. You'll see that guy, he's making a move on you, you're going to push back, and then you're going to recover. You see him, you're going to take a single step back and recover, then you're going to step back in. So move back 1 step, move back, and then take back the ground you just gave up. Give ground, take it back. Give ground, take it back. That's a single step. Now, you may have to do more than one. You may have to give a couple steps back, all right? Get used to that. 1 step, 2 step, and get ready to fight. Don't let him drive you back forever, okay? You'll get run over. If he's pushing you back that back, maybe you need to come back and threaten him with your point of your edge. Drive him off, okay? Keep that in mind. If you're going backwards, maybe you need to go to the side, okay? You can't go back forever, but you need to be an expert at going backwards. You will, whether you want to or not, so get good at it. Now, here's some other ways that you can use footwork defensively. You see that attack coming. You're going to do a single pendulum retreat, just like this. One pendulum, just one pendulum back, like that. Now, as you do that, get ready to advance right back into it. 1 pendulum back, back, forward, back, forward, back, forward, back, forward. That's the single pendulum. Also practice the double pendulum. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay? Get used to that. You do 1 pendulum back. Oh, he's still coming. Take another one. If you're not getting out of the way fast enough, he's still closing on you. As you do that single pendulum, just add another one. Now, get ready to fight. You can't do them forever. You have to counterattack, or as you go back in that pendulum, you have to be ready to squirt to the side. You can't go back forever. At some point, you're going to have to counterattack or move laterally. The next thing I want to teach you is how to retreat very quickly in the rapid retreat. We taught that earlier. We did the footwork drills. I want you to practice this. The main thing is drag this leg back first. This leg pulls back. You square, you run backwards, and you come down ready to fight. Look at, you can't go back very far like this. It's not fast enough when he's coming forward really fast. So you're going to have to use a rapid retreat. He's put a lot of forward pressure on you. You're going to have to pull back, run backwards. At some point, you're going to have to drop and go on the counterattack, or you're going to have to squirt and go to the side, okay? You can't go backwards. I can't say this enough and enough. Ron Balicki, who I train with all the time, is the past master at using this. When you put forward pressure, every time I think, yeah, I have him on the run, Ron gives ground, and then the next thing you know, he's out there taking that big lateral motion, breaking up my attack. It's the same thing with a machete. You can run backwards, and when you come down, you've got to make a decision. When you can only go 4, 6, 7 steps backwards, when you come down, you've got to come on the attack, or you've got to be ready to go to the side and get out of the way. So there you have it. The leg replacement, the step and leg replacement, the pendulum, and the rapid retreat. All those things will stand you in good stead when you're fighting defensively with your machete. All right. The next thing I want to teach you is on the defensive subject is how to defend attacks at your machete hand. I've said this again and again and again. The machete hand or the weapon hand is a prime target for both the point or the edge and it's kind of vulnerable. You don't have a D-guard or a basket hilt, like I said earlier, to help protect your hand, so the hand is vulnerable. And the best way to defend against it is to make sure it's not there when that attack comes in. So one of the things that you can do when you sense that your machete hand is being attacked is you can pull it back or fold it back. What I simply am going to do when I see that incoming attack or I sense that attack is I'm going to pull my machete hand in tight, close to my body. Make sure you don't pull it back into your face. Pull it back into your body, straight back like this, so it's in close next to your short ribs, or you can pull it a little bit out to the side this way. Now, one of the variations that we do when we're fencing heavy saber is when we do this pull back or fold back, we'll pull this back to the side. As we do that, we'll step back and then step back in with your cut. That's a variation that you can practice. It's a little slow, but sometimes if you want to give ground, you make him miss, and you come back in a good position, well balanced, ready to counterattack. So the simplest way to do it, though, is just to get accustomed and used to pulling your hand back out of range. So that attack's coming at your hand. You see that attack coming. You pull back, make it miss, and then you step into that void. His blow went past, and you may, hear me well, you may have an opportunity to counterattack, okay? So that's the pull back, okay? Another variation is to fold it. I pulled it straight back, I pulled it out to the side. You can fold it over to this side, okay? A lot of people will touch their thumb, this part of your thumb right here. They'll touch this to their chest or body, and then they'll push right back into their counterattack. So you see that attack coming. You pull back, and you push back in immediately. Soon as this touches, you're pushing back forward into your counterattack. If he's cutting forehand, and you see that blow coming, and you fold back here to this side of your body, as his blow loses its strength, and he starts his recovery, now he's going to come backhand. You come back right into his backhand blow with the edge of your machete and chop his arm off, or chop his hand off. So that's the fold back. Now, one thing always to be conscious of when you're using these pull back or fold back methods is exposure of your forearm. You need to vary constantly your defenses. So if I pull back, sometimes I'll pull this way, sometimes I'll fold back. When you fold back, remember your forearm is exposed. So you always have to be cognizant of that so you don't give him too many cues about how you're going to defend from attack so he doesn't set up a plan for you in the future. Vary your defenses. So that's the fold back. Now, the next one I want to teach you is the basic U. When you see an attack coming from forehand side on this direction, and you're here, and it's coming at your hand, I want you to drop your hand down and under that attack and pop back up. Your hand's going to make, in the air, a U, this U motion, like this. I'm exaggerating, but I want you to get it. You see that attack, you're going to drop your hand down, let that attack go past, and now you're going to pop on the other side. It came in on this angle. You popped underneath it. Now you're on the other side. You can attack that arm, or you can press in towards his torso, okay? If it comes from the other side, let's say it's coming this direction, all right? Backhand against your hand. You're going to drop underneath it and pop up, and now you can attack the arm as it went by, or you can press into the torso. So get used to the basic U, either forehand or backhand defense. Now, because your machete blade is long, sometimes he may hit your blade. Don't worry about it. He didn't hit your hand. Your blade is pretty indestructible. He's not going to be able to really easily break your blade or damage your blade. Get your hand out of the way. It's the thing that's not indestructible. It's very vulnerable and easily broken and injured. So get your hand out of the way with that basic U. Drop it down, drop it down, drop it down. You drop it down, it pops back up. You drop it down, it pops back up. Okay? Now, the next defense against your hand I want to teach you is what we call lift high. You see that attack on your hand. It's coming in, all right? What you're going to do is that comes in, you're going to pop up above it. Let it go through that space. Now, I want to caution you, with these defenses, you've got to vary them, and you've got to move sometimes so he doesn't always think you're just going to stand still. Because what happens is, if he misses, when you lift high, it goes past, and your counterstroke misses him, he goes, ha! Len lifts his hand high when I cut at it. You know what? The next time, maybe in the next few seconds, I'm going to try that again, and I'm going to cut the same angle. When he lifts high, though, instead of going in his hand, I'm going to press a little further in and cut him in the torso because I popped up, but I didn't move, and now the blade that I thought went past just came a little further and hit me in the torso right in the middle of the gut pile. So you have to vary your defenses. Sometimes I'll just lift high here, and sometimes I'll pop back here all out of the way. So I'll always have change-ups. So he doesn't really know how you're going to respond each and every time to his attack. But this lift high, what I like about it is when it's done correctly, you get above his blow, and you're in that almost that George Silver's overhead position here like this, where you can drop with tremendous force and split his noggin or cut his arm off because your blade has a lot of momentum now to drop on him, all right? So that lift high is a great defense. Now, the counter part of lift high is drop low. If your hand's fairly high here on your body and you're moving it around and you see that cut coming in, sometimes it's a good idea to just let it drop and let that blow go past and resume your motion. So I see that attack coming. Say it's only forehand, all right? I'll drop underneath it, let it go by, and I'll come up with an arcing attack. Or I'll drop and turn my edge and slash back. But it's a really good way to get out of the way, especially when your hand is in a higher than normal position. Maybe my machete's here, but I've moved it around, and all of a sudden, I'll drop underneath that stroke, let it come by, maybe I'll thrust into the face, okay? So dropping low underneath the attack can work too. You want to get your hand out of the way at all costs. Protect your weapon hand at all costs. The Spanish have a saying for a man that's ineffectual or impotent or weak. They say he has no right arm or no right hand. That means he's so weak, so stupid, so ineffectual that he was dumb enough to get his sword hand cut off and he's no longer useful as a man. His primary weapon-bearing arm was cut off, so he has no right hand. Don't be a no right hand or no left hand man. Protect your weapon hand at all costs. Now, here's some other things you can do. When you see that cut coming at your hand, you can make a circle with your arm and evade it, okay? So as that cut's coming here, I can circle around that incoming cut and evade that cut and get in a position where I can counter. I can circle to the right or I can circle to the left. So I could go to this direction or I can go to this direction. Now, the key is not to just make your wrist move. That won't get you out of the way. You can't do this. See that cut coming and you go this. I see people do this all the time. That won't work, okay? You've got to make your fist and your arm move and get out of the way. Your whole form has to move. Your elbow doesn't have to move that much, maybe a little bit to help you get the momentum, but your form definitely has to scribe that circle and evade that cut. So you can circle to the right or you can circle to the left. It's up to you. So there you have it. You have the fold back or pull back. You have the basic U. You have lift high. You have drop low. And you have the circling maneuvers. Now, I'm going to call Robert in here, and we're going to demonstrate some of these hand defenses. The first one I'm going to demonstrate is the fold back. What I want you to do is get used to not cheating, all right, when you do this, all right? I don't want you to time your opponent's attack so that you try to get his rhythm and just move your hand back all the time. That won't help you learn. You're going to get struck on this from time to time. That's part of the drill. I want him to, though, make sure he gets his distance so he can hit you. Now, he's going to hit one. I'm not even going to move my hand. I'm going to take that stroke. Okay, now, when he does it, I'm going to pull back out of the way. I'm going to pull back out of the way. I'm going to pull back out of the way. I'm going to pull back out of the way. I'm going to pull to the side. I'm going to fold back. I'm going to fold back. I'm going to fold back. I want you to get used to that. Now, when he does the backhand, it's the same thing. I'm going to pull back. I'm going to pull back. I'm going to fold back. I'm going to fold back. I'm going to pull back. I'm going to pull back. I'm going to fold back. I do that on purpose so that you're not cheating yourself. Get used to moving that hand out of the way. Get used to moving that hand out of the way. Fold it back. Pull it back. Pull it back. Pull it back, okay? So forehand and backhand, practice folding your hand back out of the way. The next thing I want to do is practice that basic U. So I'm going to have my hand like this. He's going to cut down, and I'm going to U underneath it. U underneath it. U underneath it. U underneath it. I'm going to let him hit me. Bang! I'm going to let him hit me. Bang! Bang! Don't cheat yourself. Now, pick one. U underneath it. Pick one. U underneath it. Let him hit you. So now you know the difference between getting hit and making a miss. So you're going to see all the way through, him all the way through to hit you, and then at the last split second, he comes, and you sense that, and you out of the way. You out of the way. Same thing for the backhand. Let him hit you, okay? Now, I you out of the way. I you out of the way. I you out of the way. I let him hit me. Bang, he hit me. Oh, I didn't like that, so I moved. I moved my hand. I U'd out of the way. So when you U out of the way, see, I pop right up. I U out of the way, I pop right up. Just like that. Sometimes he's going to hit your blade. Sometimes he's not. Sometimes you're going to drop your point. Sometimes he'll still hit your machete blade. It's all good. Get used to using the full back and the basic U. You got the hockey glove on. You got a soft trainer. Let him hit your hand from time to time. Get used to that and get used to not timing what he's doing. All right? Now, the next thing I want to do is to lift high. I've got my hand, hang on, Robert. I've got my hand fairly in the middle, right about here. Just about right about here. I'm going to let him cut up my hand. I'm going to get it out of the way. I'm going to get it above him, just like this. When it comes above him, see how I can enter. Sometimes I'll let him hit it. And then, when you get that smack on your hand, it's going to motivate you a little bit to get your hand out of the way. All right? So when he hits that hand, I don't think I like that. I'm going to be a little bit more careful to get my hand up and a little bit more motivated to get out of the way and to drop on him. Same thing for the backhand side. I'm going to get my hand out of the way. And I'm going to let him hit me, and I'm going to get my hand out of the way. Get my hand out of the way, I'm going to take him. Get my hand out of the way, take him. Let him hit me with it. Didn't like that. Get it out of the way, and I'm going to take him. That's how you start basically building that reflex to lift your hand high and evade that stroke. Same thing, when you drop low, I might have my hand a little bit higher here. I drop right underneath it. Right underneath it. Sometimes I'll let him hit me. Right in the thumb. I didn't like that. Okay. Now I drop underneath it. So you get used to it. Drop that blade. Wait to the last possible second and drop. Drop. If you wait to the last possible second, it's harder for him to feint and fake you in the direction he's going. It's a little bit more dangerous, but when you're training, this is the time to learn that. Now, the next one I want to show is how to circle left and right. I've got my hand out here. He cuts at it. I'm going to circle. Cuts that backhand. I'm going to circle. 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 See, when I make him miss with that circle, my point's right on line. I can almost circle in like this. See that? So this is a good thing about this circling defense, especially from the extended posture I taught earlier. He cuts here, and see where the point ended up? Right there in his throat. It's a quick kill. Get really good at circling. Practice it right and left. Sometimes go slow enough to get intercepted, okay? And you go, okay, I didn't like that. It'll help you get good at moving in. Let's cut backhand. Right there, you open. Right there. Right there. You can get really good at that. From that extended hand position right here. Get used to circling. Right there, I stuck the point in, and because it's a machete and it's curved, it kind of slid a little bit, and it's a foam trainer, but you get the point. Practice the full back, the basic U, lift high, go low, and circle. These are great hand defensive motions that you need to make your own. I just taught you how to avoid cuts at your machete hand. I taught you how to basic U, full back, lift high, drop low, circle left and right. Those are all good ways to defend against cuts and stabs at your weapon hand, okay? But there's also some evasive patterns that you can put your machete hand into that will make it harder for your opponent to get a fix on and target your machete hand. I love that on Star Trek and all those different TV shows where they talk about they're being attacked by some other space aliens, and they say, go into evasion pattern 459, and the ship starts moving all over the place to make the other ship's phasers miss them and stuff. It's the same thing when you're fighting with the machete. You can have all kinds of your own evasive patterns that you cut through the air with your machete to make it hard for your opponent to get a fix on your weapon hand. He thinks it's one place and then it's moving somewhere else. He thinks it's over here and it's over there. He never knows where it's going to be from one moment to the next. It's very disconcerting, and it's very hard for him to target that. He has to be a master at hitting a moving object. He has to be a master at identifying and cutting into your rhythm and into your timing, okay? Very difficult to do. One of the first ones I'm going to teach you is what I call continuous circles. What you're going to do from your fighting stance is you're going to move your machete arm in a continuous circle. You can circle one way, and then you can circle to the left. Now, none of these evasive patterns can be used indefinitely. They have to be switched from one to the other. It's the same thing when you're grappling. When you're on the ground and on your back, you may escape and try one escape, another escape, another escape, another escape. You keep busy. You don't keep doing the same one forever. If it's not working, go to plan 2, plan 3, plan 4, come back to plan 1, plan 2, skip to plan 5. It's the same thing when you're using evasive patterns with your machete. So I'm cutting continuous circles. I'm moving around and I'm moving my arm in continuous circles so he doesn't get a fix on that arm, okay? That's one good one. Another one you can do, you can cut, and I get this from the Filipino martial arts, you can cut the letters of your alphabet, you can cut your name. Sometimes I'll cut an L. I'll cut down and across, or I'll cut across and up. I'll just cut that L and keep it going. Sometimes I'll cut a W, like this, right in front of me. Sometimes I'll cut an N. Sometimes I'll cut a C. I'll just see from one side to the other. Sometimes I'll cut an X pattern, just like this, constantly moving my machete in an X pattern, okay? Sometimes I'll cut a diagonal line, just like this. Now, try not to be too big in your motions, okay? Here is the frame of your body. Try not to move your machete too far outside of your frame when you're using evasive patterns, okay? So if I'm cutting a diagonal line, I don't want to cut over here, and I don't want to come up to here. I want to keep this inside the frame of my body, but I want to make sure my arm is moving, not just my wrist. My arm has to move. When I see his attention go to that, as I'm moving like this, okay, and I see his attention start to pick up on that, I may switch, cut the other side, all right? I may just come back horizontally like this in front of myself. I may just bring my weapon up and down like this. This is particularly threatening when you go forward, like this. It puts forward pressure. He feels that cutting action coming in on him. It's very disconcerting, okay? You can cut all kinds of different lines. Make them up as you go along. You can cut a Z. I'm quite fond of that, okay? And you keep that right inside the frame of your body, up and down, all right? What it does, it keeps your machete in motion. It makes it hard for him to fix. Now, a hand that's in motion is faster than a hand that's still. If I just hold my hand still here and somebody cuts at it, his initiation speed is faster usually than my reaction speed. He has a big advantage. But if my hand is in motion and he cuts at it, I got a really good chance of pulling out of the way and making him miss because my hand is also in motion. A still hand, and we're going to talk about how to identify openings. A hand that's being held still is a real good cue that you can hit him. It's very difficult to defend when your hand is held dead still. You want to avoid that. You can do the herky-jerky. What I do is I'll move my hand here, 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 and I'll constantly keep it in staggered, broken rhythm. My machete is moving all inside that frame constantly. It comes high, squirts across, drops low, pops up, comes to the other side, drops down, comes across diagonally. I'll start cutting. I want to make that real broken, and I drop and change my height at the same time as I do that. You want to make a confusing target for your opponent, okay? That's the herky-jerky. Now, there's another thing that you can do that's really hard and disconcerting, is you change the distance of your machete hand. You have it here, you push it out to threaten, you fold it halfway back, you pull it all the way back, you come halfway out, you push it all the way out. So you push out like you're going to attack, and he reacts defensively, and you can pull back, or if he doesn't move, you can go ahead and snap cut, all right? You constantly change the distance of your machete. You threaten him, you come back, you pull back, you come out and threaten, come all the way out, halfway back, all the way back. He doesn't know what you're going to do. You're constantly staggering your position of your machete. That's changing the distance. So, there you have it. Some good evasive patterns that you can practice at home. Get in front of the mirror, cut these evasive patterns, make up your own. I know you'll be glad you did. Now I'm going to call Robert in here, and I'm going to demonstrate how to use these avoidance patterns to frustrate your opponent's attempt to target your machete hand. I'm not going to use the basic U or the lift high or the drop low. I'm primarily just going to try to confuse him with my evasive patterns. And we're going to go about half speed so you can see what's going on. Now, occasionally, let him cut your hand. Get used to that. Put it out there, let him cut it. So, he's cutting at your hand. So now here, he's got to change his direction to target that. There you have it. Use your machete evasively. As I've said earlier, the machete isn't the ideal defensive tool. What I don't want to leave you with is the impression that it's useless. It can be very useful, but its highest and best use in its long suit is not defensive. But you can use it defensively, and I'm going to show you how. It can still be very, very useful in keeping your opponent from touching you with his weapon and allowing you to go back on the offense. One of the things that I think is most useful, and I'm going to call Robert in here, is what we call the stop hit. Now, to implement a stop hit, what you're going to do is you're going to use a straight, direct, quick motion to interrupt a motion that you can read or anticipate, a motion that's being telegraphed, something that you see coming. When you see a blow coming, if Robert's in his on-guard fighting stance, and I see him load to hit me with angle number 1, I can stab him right in the mouth and knock his head back with a quick, straight motion. As I see him load, I can intercept that motion with a more direct, straighter, faster motion of my own and interdict his motion and stop it dead in his tracks. I can target his face, or I can target his chest, arm, shoulder juncture right there and put my point right in that spot, which will stop his forward motion. If I'm late and I can't reach the face or the arm, I may be able to hit the bicep or the hand and stop it, depending on my machete. If I have one of those nice square mouth machetes or square bladed machetes that I showed you earlier that I'd customized, I can easily even stop hit his arm as it's coming and interdict it there. But I like to stop hit the face. Whenever you see anything load, you stop hit the face. Whenever you can see a blow coming and you can get there first, be the firstest is the mostest, as General Forrest used to say, okay, in the Civil War, get there first with your own attack. The stop hit to the face is great. Now, I prefer to stop hit with the thrust because it gives you the most reach, okay? But you can also stop hit with a quick snap cut. You see him load, and you can snap cut him in the face and hit him in the mouth, split his lips and gums open. Hey, when I do that and I stop him, snap cut him in the face and split his mouth open, he's in big trouble. He can't really complete that attack. So that stop hit is really useful, okay? Now, you can stop hit on almost any line. If he backhands, okay, and I can see that coming, I can put it here, or I can put it here under his armpit and push into him. Now, this foam trainer is flexing, but if that's a stiff blade, Robert will tell you he can feel that. I'm already pushing him backwards. He's not going to complete that stroke when my point is underneath his arm in his armpit, pushing into his chest cavity. It's not happening. So I can stop hit his face or underneath his arm and stick it right in his chest cavity with my stop hit. If he comes low, same thing. If he comes backhand low, I can still hit his face right there. As I see that coming, I might even step this side a little bit on the female triangle, going forward here, and stop hit him right in the face before that blow is completed. I put my point into his eye as I step and drive it in and interdict his motion with a straighter, faster motion of mine. That's the highest and best use of a stop hit. Now, to train this at home, what I want you to do, get with your training partner. Glove up, armor up. One person is going to cut the 12 angles of attack. The other one is going to stop hit. So Robert and I are going to do that now. Come on in a little bit further, Robert. When he loads, I'm going to stop hit. He cuts backhand, he's going to stop hit. I'm 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 going to constantly move on the forward and backwards on the male and female triangle and stick my point in, hit him in the face, and stop him from completing the motion. That's how you stop hit. Okay, let's continue with using our machete defensively. I just taught you how to stop hit, using primarily the edge to interrupt his motion with a faster, more direct, straighter motion of your own. Sometimes that's possible. That's not possible. That's the highest and best use, though, of defensive motion is a stop hit. It's what I prefer to do whenever I can. But sometimes it's simply not possible. Okay? When it's not, you need to use your edge and learn how to counter slash and use your point to counter stab. I'm going to have Robert come in here, and I'm going to teach you how to do that. Now, what you always want to remember with the machete is just because you slash or cut somebody's incoming arm doesn't mean it's finished. It's a good chance it is, but when you cut this arm, you need to move to a position of safety. What I want you to do is to be hungry, though, when you're counter slashing, hungry to get your edge on that incoming weapon hand or weapon arm. If you can reach his arm, it's better. If you can't, you're going to have to just slash or cut into his blade and stop that forward progress, okay? But with the machete, it's long enough. You can quite often, you can reach his hand or his forearm, all right? So what I want you to do is be hungry to cut into that. So from an on-guard stance, if he cuts number one, I'm going to slash into it. Now, what I want to do here, if I want to be more defensive, is I'm going to step back on the male triangle. When he cuts number one again, I'm going to step back here. See how that carries me to a position of safety? I intercept the arm, I cut it, and I'm moving this way. If he counters, I'm still going out into my big lateral motion into position of safety. If I'm successful in my counter slash here, bang, I move over here, he's bleeding, and I'm leaving. I can run away now. I see him, he cuts at me, holy gee, and I'm out of here. I'm bleeding, he's bleeding, and I'm leaving, gone. Just like that. You don't have to stay and fight. Remember, what I told you earlier, no one's going to pay to laud your victory or herald your victory in the newspapers or on television when you defend yourself with a machete. If you can't run, run as soon as you can, okay? You don't have to stay there and fight and finish this guy. If you can cut him, disable him enough so you can get away, leave. Don't sit there and continue the fight. If you can escape, escape. Okay, so I want to get back to counter slashing. You can counter slash forehand. When he comes again, target that arm and move again. I'm moving back on that male triangle this way, here. I can also move back on the male triangle this way if I want to follow his motion. I watch it, I come underneath, and I counter slash it. Just like that. I'm moving back diagonally on that male triangle I taught you before. So be hungry to counter slash. If he cuts 12 straight down, I can come here and counter slash. If he cuts at my leg, I can counter slash and get out of the way. If he cuts this side, I can counter slash. Notice me drag my leg out. My leg feels a little vulnerable there, so I pulled it out with my leg replacement that I taught you earlier. Be hungry to counter slash. Now, here's how I want you to drill this. See, sometimes when I feel that leg's threatened, I'll pull it back. Even as I move back on that male triangle, I'll move back and get my leg out of the way as I counter slash him, okay? So be hungry, no matter what he throws, to move on the male and female triangle and cut into that attack with your machete. I want you to target as much as you can his hands and his forearms. If you cut that hand, he's not going to hold that machete. You cut that forearm good, he's not going to hold that machete. Okay? Then it's a lot safer. When he's cut this and dropped it on the floor, you can enter now, and you can have your way with him. Or you can run away, depending on what you need to do in that circumstance that's moral and correct, upright, and the best thing to do and for everybody. All right? Now, here's how you get good at counter slashing. One person is going to cut angles 1 through 12. We're going to go real slow to start with. Hang on, Robert. We're going to go real slow to start with. I want you to concentrate on using the male and female triangle. to position yourself at the best spot to use your edge. Let's come in here a little deeper, have you come right over here, Robert. And real slow, he's going to cut 1. I'm going to step 2. I'm going to step this way. He's going to cut 3. I'm going to step. Notice I stepped across laterally here. As he cut 3, to read that blow, I stepped here to get more time to read it and to get more time to get my edge into play, all right? When he cuts backhand, I'm going to step here. Again, back on that male triangle, this way, and I'm going to drop down. When he cuts 5, I'm going to step inside like that, get offline, counter slash that thumb. When he comes 6, I'm going to step here, clear outside here, and push it across and cut that. Here I'm going to step this way, underneath. I'm going to come underneath this blade here. I'm going to follow it out of the way like that. I can chop it again, barge him, and kill him if I want to. Okay? And those are more advanced techniques that you'll get good at later. Okay? So cut the angles 1 through 12 and counter slash into them. That's how you get good at using your machete defensively with counter slashes. Because the machete is such an edge-oriented weapon, quite often people ignore using the point or the top of the blade to defend incoming attacks. I showed you how you could use your point to stop hit on the face. When he cuts or stabs at you, you can take an angle on the male or female triangle and interdict his motion with a stop hit. But sometimes you're going to be too far behind to do that or out of position to reach his face, and then you can counter stab his incoming hand. This is where your point control becomes so important. Most people can't do it because they can't control the point, but that doesn't mean you can't learn how to do it. I can do stuff now in knife and sword fighting that I couldn't dream I could do in the 80s, okay? In the early 90s even, I could do a lot of stuff I couldn't pull off in the 80s. Now, I'm always surprised myself. I said, geez, I can't believe I did that. You can learn how to use your point very effectively and counter stab incoming attacks. I'm going to have Robert come out here and I'm going to demonstrate that. Now, what I'm using here is this square or wide mouth heavy machete. This is particularly well suited to be using it defensively when you're going to use the point or the end of the machete like this, okay, defensively. So when Robert cuts at me, all I'm going to do is step forward on the female triangle right here, and I'm going to interdict his motion. Now, I'm going to stab into that. Remember, I sharpened the top of this edge here. It's going to slice into him and shear into his arm, and he's going to post there for a split second. Now, I'm going to teach you later more on how to use your live hand. If I get the post here like this, I'm in all likelihood going to swing this down as I hollow, push it through, pin his arm, and come over here and work him over, okay? You can use this to stop his motion and damage his hand. If I want to, I can just step here and stick him and jump back. Or he cuts the same angle, he cuts the same way. I can come here, back on the male triangle, and stab into his hand, shear down his forearm in safety. Now, when you're using the point or the end of your machete defensively, you're giving yourself a greater margin of safety. When I cut him with the edge, see how much closer I have to be? About 6 inches closer. When I use the end or the point, I can stay a lot further away and out of danger. Even if I miss here and it comes short, I'm still in a good position of safety. So you can use this to damage, or I can use it to post with. Here, and just lift his arm that high like that. Now, I can barge him, and I can cut his arm off, okay? This is something to put in your bag of tricks. Anytime you stop somebody's arm like this, and you get on his elbow, and you lift, you own him. His whole center of gravity. See, he's already falling over here. I can stick my leg here low and just fold him right around my leg. There's all kinds of stuff I can do, okay? This opens up all kinds of opportunities because it allows you to stop that blow right in the middle of its track, right there. So now I can do all kinds of stuff. I can come over here and throw it all the way to that line, cut it off right there with a chop, come back here and kill him, okay? I've got a heavy machete. This thing weighs over 1.5 pounds. It hits like a ton of bricks. It's like a kukri. It's got a lot of weight forward. It's got a nice curve. It chops great, okay? Again, to train using your point defensively, you're going to do it the same way you did with counter slashing. He's going to cut angles 1 through 12. So I'm going to stop it. 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 Now wait. You see this thing flexing. This is a foam trainer. It's not a steel machete. This is going to flex. Get used to it, all right? Let's start again. Number 1, I'm going to move. 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 I'm going to constantly stop that. And I'm going to interdict that motion with the point or the end of my machete and stop it. Get good at that. When you see that guy cutting at you, stop this and go to work. It gives you a good chance to enter because he's going to be surprised his arm motion stopped there. And he's going to get that right in the mouth instantly. Get good at counter stabbing with your machete. I would always prefer you to use your machete when you're in the defensive mode to stop, hit, and counter slash. Those are the highest and best uses of it defensively. But sometimes you're not going to be able to pull off either one of those moves and you're going to have to block. Now I'm going to teach you some basic blocking methods with the machete. I prefer you to use the fort, the strongest part of the blade, starting here at the handle and going about halfway up the blade. This is the strongest part of the blade, and that's the part of the blade that you want to use when you're blocking an incoming attack. Now, I can't emphasize enough that I prefer you to stop, hit, and counter slash whenever possible, because both of those defensive methods give you a good chance of injuring your opponent as he initiates his attack. Blocking is a lot more passive. You may or may not cause injury to your opponent. Sometimes you'll block on his weapon arm. Sometimes you'll block the actual weapon itself. I'm going to call Robert in here, and I'm going to switch off this trainer for a little less dangerous one. And the first one I want to teach you, the first block I want to teach you is a roof block. From our on-guard fighting stance, imagine that guy's attack coming down on your head. It's a number 12 stroke like this. The first thing I want you to do when you see a stroke descending is I want you to go forward on the female triangle. If it's coming this way, I'll probably go over here to my right. I'm going to lift my machete like this in front of my face. It's going to come up here like this, and it's going to take an angle. As I do that, my head's going to go into this corner like that, and I'm going to step just like this. I want to go right here. So you're actually moving your head out of the way as you block. The theory is his machete or his weapon hits your blade on the fort and slides off like this. Hits it and just slides right off, angles off, out of the way harmlessly. At the same time, you're going to move your head out of the way. So if you get caught a little flat or a little awkwardly, this doesn't come crashing down on your head. You've moved your head out of the way. So you're almost slipping your head to the side as you put your machete up and you take that little angle. So the way it goes is it looks like this, like that. Just as I see that coming in, I want to make sure that I get my head out of the way and I pick it up on the fort of my blade with a slight slope like this. Now this slope resembles the angle of a roof, just like this, either side, okay? That's your roof block, okay? So it goes like this. And you're going to step. The step is probably as important as the hand motion, this step, and putting your hand in here close into this little nest right there. You're going to get it in next to your arm as you get out of line. Bang, pick it up. Now I'm going to have Robert demonstrate. As he cuts me, I'm going to come here, just like this. And I'm going to get out of the way. I'm going to let that come by. Now, look how that loads me for my next stroke. You've got two choices when you block a blow. You can get out of the way and regroup, or you can riposte or counterattack immediately. So as that stroke comes down, I'm going to move out of the way and I can cut him. As that stroke comes down, I can move out of the way and I can cut him. Try not to have your body in front of that stroke when it's coming down. Don't stand here like this and do that. Sure, that's better than nothing. You will do that rather than take that hit in the head. But it's far, far safer to get out of the way and get loaded for that counter stroke, just like that. That's the roof block. Now, there's a variation of that. We call it the low roof. This is good for attacks coming here from your shoulder down here to your elbow or your side right here. What you're going to do is all you're going to do is you're going to move your machete this side and you're going to slope it this way. So let's imagine it was here with a high roof. You're just going to let it come over to your side like this and down like that. But you're still going to move. You're still going to move. You're not going to stand in front of that blade. His blade's going to hit the fort of your machete and slide off. You're going to have stepped on an angle to a safe distance, and you're going to be ready to counterattack or run. So I see him coming here, and I do the low roof block. Again, I'm set up. Now, you'll employ these different blocks depending on where your blade is at the time. If my blade's clear over here, for some reason I stroked here, I may just do an inside sweep, okay, which I'm going to teach in a minute. But if my point for some reason is here, and I see him cut here, I'm going to definitely probably low roof. Pick it up, maybe I'll cut him in the head or take his neck. So it's circumstantial and positional. What your circumstances are, what your position is at that moment of time, what defense you're going to use. Again, of course, the best thing to do is if he cuts that same angle is to step here and cut him on the hand, counter slash him. Or if I see it coming, counter stab him, okay? But if I can't do that and my blade's here, I'm going to use that low roof block and go to work, okay? That's the low roof block. Now I want to teach you how to defend the other side of your body. The defense I'm going to teach you now, this block, is called the shield. Some Filipino martial artists refer to it as pluma, okay? And what it does is it defends the right flank, your weapon side flank, of your body. Now, again, this is situational. I'll use this blocking defense dependent on where my blade is at that moment of time. I'm going to have Robert come out here. And what I'm going to do is when he cuts backhand, if my blade's here, I'm going to step to the side like this, turn and counter cut. What I'm doing is just hang on there, Robert. My machete's here, or I just stroked here. I see that cut coming. I'm going to turn. I'm going to put my fort right here. I'm going to let that engage here as I step off here and around. Now, Robert's arms are longer than mine. He's got greater reach. So I just can't stop here. Maybe that blade will come all the way through and hit my leg. Well, I missed that time. Good. But I have to take that into account. Maybe I'll take another little step and counter slash, okay? You have to vary your defense according to the size of your opponent. Bigger, taller people have more reach, and so you have to maybe step or add an extra step to get the right angle or to get the position of safety. But what you want to do is you get used to lifting your blade here and taking it on the fort. And like the roof, you're going to present an angle, and that blade's going to slide off. As his blade slides off, it's only natural for you to turn and counter cut, okay? Or you can slide off like this and run. Pick that thing up here and run. No one's paying you to stay there and fight. If you block that blow successfully and you can get away, get away. There are no rewards for winning machete fights, okay? Other than your life, that's the biggest one. But what I'm saying is there's no monetary rewards, there's no rewards of ego or fame or glory, so always run. Now, I'll do that one more time. It's important you try to pick that up on your fort. If you pick it up here on your foible, the weakest part, it's not too good. And it may, if your grip isn't that good, tear the machete out of your hand. So you almost want to push slightly into it as it makes contact, let it come off, and circle around is what I like to do. Or if I pick this up, maybe I'll step back and reassess. Or I'll move behind him as I cut him, going behind him, okay? That's what I like to do with that shield block. It's really useful because I think lots of times it allows you to enter also. So you can enter behind this. If you see this coming, you put that barrier up. Now, it's a little weaker than a roof block. When you're using the roof block, he's pressing the machete right back into your palm. This way here, it's kind of tearing it out of your hand. So you've got to angle your arm, and you've got to line that fort as best you can, and maybe give a little tiny push into the downcoming or incoming stroke here. But it allows me to let that slide off. Now, I'll use my live hand to get control of his elbow. Let's spin a little bit so the camera can see this. When you try to control someone's elbow, and I'll probably reference this again and again, get underneath it here or here, right at the elbow. That's where you have the best control of his hand. When you get a hold of his elbow here, you control this whole arm. You grab his arm here, you don't have control. You grab his elbow, you have control of everything, and his direction even. So when you take the shield and you get here, now I got that. I might just cut his hand off here. Now, bang, I may go into that wrap stroke I taught you, or come back and work his hand again. Lots of things you can do if you use the shield correctly. One of the things that I always miss when I pick up a machete is the guard for my saber or cutlass. And as I've alluded to before, it limits it defensively. What I want to show you next is from saber fencing, what we call parries 3 and 4. In the Filipino martial arts, we usually refer to these as an inside and outside sweeping block. Okay? So the inside block sweeps across your body here, just to the outside edge, and the outside block comes this way, across your body, this way, over to here, and just to the outside edge of your body. Try not to oversweep. This is a big fault. If your opponent feints and you go clear over here with your defense, look at what you gave him, the forearm, the shoulder, and your head and neck. The same way this way. If you overcommit to your defense and it's not successful and it's just a feint, look what you gave him. The whole inside of your body, your whole center line is now exposed, okay? So you need to practice these inside and outside sweeps so that they're real clean and tight and concise and precise. Now, in saber fencing, you have an advantage because if you see the incoming blow, you have a 30 or 32-inch blade, a nice basket hilt, you can just come to position or just to come to position. You can't do that when you're fighting a machete. You have to gauge the angle, the speed, the rhythm, timing, everything, and coordinate your inside sweep and try to pick them up on your fort. It's much harder than using a saber, and you have no hand protection, so your placement has to be really good. If I make a mistake with a saber and I press into him and hit him with my hand, bang, I got a nice D-ring or 3-bar hilt there or a basket hilt. His blade bounces off, no harm, no foul. You do that with a machete, you're going to be 4 fingers woo at least, okay? You're going to lose some digits, all right? So you have to be precise in this. I'm going to have Robert come out here. I'm going to teach it in a little bit more detail. Now, from your fighting stance, you can use this inside sweep for about anything from the shoulder down to your hips. As it gets lower here, you're going to have to squat to pick it up. You're going to have to bend your knees and drop your butt to lower your blade to sweep with. As it goes below your belt line, you're going to use what we call a knockdown defense, and I'm going to get to that in a minute, all right? So when Robert cuts here at my abdomen, I'm just going to sweep across. Now, if you can, always move. Sometimes you're going to be fighting, and everybody that fights will tell you this is true. You're going to feel like your feet are sunk in concrete planters or vases just filled with concrete that are buried 20 or 30 inches in the ground. You're going to be here just immobile, and you're going to go, thank you, Jesus. I pulled that off. But if you can, I want you to move, all right? When you move, I like to move, if at all possible, on the inside, on the female triangle for several reasons. As that stroke's coming around like this, at my body, it comes around like this, and now I'm going to talk about the zero pressure area. As it gets over here, it starts to lose momentum, force, and power, all right? His sweet spot for his stroke is right about here. And it continues to here, and now when he gets over here, he's already thinking about his recovery. So he's already trying to slow his blade and trying to recover that blade. He knows he's missed. So if I can step here, it gives me a lot longer to read that attack, position my machete, and think about what I'm going to do. So when you see that coming in, move, don't stand there. Now from here, I can check his arm. Now I move my machete over here. I'll probably just come up here and stab, or in that wrap stroke, or I can just come over here and slap with the flat of my blade his elbow and bust his elbow, or give him such a knot on it he doesn't want to use it anymore. All right? So what I want to leave you with constantly in blocking is to move, either forward on the female triangle or backward on the male triangle. Don't be static. Be hungry to move. Sometimes you see that inside sweep and you'll even move into it. It's not all lost. The main thing is you move. You may catch it and stop it here on his hand, okay, before he builds too much momentum. That can be a good thing. You stop it here and you check it, and now, bang, I'm ready to go to work. We're going to get later more into use of this live hand, but it can be very useful if you're fortunate to get a clash where you stop his momentum. Quite often, you can swing this out of the way and be ready to go to work, okay? So your live hand can be very useful to you defensively in all kinds of situations. So for the inside sweep, you're just going to put your blade in the way at the fort. Now, sometimes you're going to be so late that you can't get in here and put your blade on his arm. You may have to put it on his machete itself. Clang, and pick it up there. That still will work, all right? The highest and best use of blocking, though, is to get here and stop it there. If I had even more time to read it, of course, I would counter slash and get out of the way. But you're going to want to use this inside sweep when you can't counter slash and when you can't stop hit. Now, the same thing outside. He comes out here, I'm going to sweep to my outside. There, I could see it coming, I stopped it on his wrist. I just stopped the blade right there. I went forward on the female triangle and put my blade in the way. I didn't have time to counter slash. If I'd seen that coming, bang, I would have cut it off. At the last second, I'm moving, holy gee, there it comes. I put my blade up. Push into it just a little bit. Don't just passively put your machete up there and go, whoo! The impact's going to knock it back in your face, all right? You can't hardly ever do that. Especially a strong guy like Robert. You got to give, can you feel that little forward pressure? As I get it, I can just give it a little bounce. Just a little bit. Not like this. I'm not punching it. I'm just giving it a little bit of bounce to help overcome his heavy arm. His arm probably weighs 25, 30 pounds. You just don't put your machete up here like this and let it crash back into your face. You've got to use a little muscle power, okay? So I'm going to sweep my blade across my body right here. There, I caught it here. Now, I could turn it here and come in here and just keep working him, all right? But this inside and outside sweep are really important. When you can, block on his hand, block on his forearm, or block on his blade. If you get his blade here, you can sometimes pass it to that side and stab him right away, okay? Sometimes if you get his blade here, you're going to go, ah, I was scared. I'm getting out of there. I'm not prepared for that attack. I'm not prepared for his momentum, what he was doing right then, and it's better to run. So it's all situational, but that's how you use the inside and outside sweep to defend yourself. So far, I've concentrated on showing you how to use your machete defensively against attacks at your head and upper torso. Now I want to show you how to block attacks at your hips and lower part of your body, your legs and your feet, okay? The best way to do that, in my experience, is what we call a knockdown defense. What you want to do is you see that incoming blow. Maybe it's coming at your thigh. You're probably going to give ground. You probably use a leg replacement. As that blow comes in, I'm going to vacate this space. I'm going to knock his weapon down into the dirt, and I'm going to immediately run, or I'm going to launch my counter or my riposte right after I knock it down. You can knock down forehand blows or backhand blows. It doesn't make a difference, but it almost always requires body movement. You don't want to stand here fighting and go like this. You may not be successful. I'll tell you the truth. It may not work. Sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. You have a much better chance of success if you move your body to a relative position of safety as you knock that incoming weapon hand or weapon itself down into the dirt. Now, if possible, you will always want to hit the hand with your machete or the forearm of the weapon arm, okay? That's the goal. But quite often, especially with these low-line attacks, it's too far away. You're not going to be able to reach it. You're going to have to knock the weapon itself into the dirt. Now I'm going to call Robert out here. And here's how I want you to train this at home so you get used to it. Robert's going to get on guard, and he's going to cut at my leg. Just go ahead and cut it. Okay, back up a little bit. You're a little deep. Right there. There, you can get the tip. You're seldom going to let somebody get so close that they can get half the machete length on your leg. You're naturally, as you train to fight, you're going to see that distance is too close and you're going to move. But he can sneak in quite often and at least get the edge on you. So try that again, Robert. Let's see, you got the edge. Okay, now he's going to cut at my leg. I'm going to replace it and knock that right down. Right into the ground. Right into the ground. Right into the ground. As I knock this down, where's his face? If I get this down here and I drop on it, his face is right there. My machete moves at light speed. All I have to do is knock this down, turn my wrist, and stick him right in the throat. Bang! You saw what I did in those stabbing drills to that cardboard. I have the point control. If I knock that down, I can put that right in his throat. Boom! And slash his throat or stick him in the throat into the fight right there. You can go on the other side. He could go from here, and I can knock it right down. Right down. Right down. Right down. Right down. Right down. When it comes down, right there, again, you have immediate riposte into the face with your machete. Practice this realistically. Get close enough so that you have the distance on your opponent so your cuts are true, and then practice the knockdown defense. Now I want to teach you how to use your machete to stop extra hard blows or blows from heavier weapons, blows from big giant opponents that outweigh you, that are much stronger and taller than you are. And I want to show you how to use your alive hand to help you block those hard blows. The first way I want to show you is how to reinforce your single hand. If I do an inside sweep like this with a single hand and somebody's hitting me with a sword that weighs 3 pounds, it may or may not be successful. He may just crash right through that. But if I take my palm, my other palm, and put it here on the back of my wrist, and I help reinforce my wrist, and I push into that, and watch what I do. I change my angle. I just don't stand here. See how I turn my body? If I can get a little step and project a little bit of my body at an angle into that incoming weapon, now he's hitting my whole body weight, all right? It's a lot stronger block. Same thing on the other side. I can step here and push in to that incoming cut and help reinforce my machete hand, all right, to take that impact. That's reinforced blocking. You can do it on the roof block. I see that coming, I step offline, and I reinforce my wrist, okay, with my other hand. I put my head out of the way, reinforce my wrist, let that blade hit my slope blade and fall off. And from here, I can just push it into my counter, just like that, and have a nice counter, okay? There's other ways to reinforce it. You can use your forearm also. If I see an incoming attack here, I can put my blade on my forearm like this. Now, it's important that this is a fault, letting your elbow get in front of your machete edge. This is a fault, letting your hand get in front of your machete edge. You want your arm, both your elbow and your hand, to be behind this edge. This is where the blade's going to land. We don't want to land on an exposed part of our reinforcing arm. So we're going to keep our arm here like this, okay? And keep this back. Keep this out of the way. Sometimes you can actually put the machete across your forearm and put it into your palm this way also, just like that, keeping your arm flat. They all work, especially at close range. Sometimes at close range, I'll just grab the back of my machete like this and push it into the attack, okay? And you help reinforce it with my palm this way, or like this. Can everyone see that? My palm gets flat, like that, okay? Don't curl your fingers around it. You don't want your fingers exposed, okay? Don't let your elbow get over here like this and get it in front of the machete. Let's see that in profile. That'd be wrong. You want your elbow and your hand behind the edge. The edge is what's going to pick up the attack. Look, my machete, when viewed this way, use your imagination, is only 2 millimeters thick. But when you look at it this way, he has to collapse through 2 inches of steel. Pretty hard to cut through 2 inches of steel or make that move out of the way. It's pretty easy to bend over 2 millimeters of steel. So you always want to meet his attack edge on with machete, all right? Now, if you've got a sword that has a 1/4 inch or 5/8 inch even thick blade, a big thick blade, sometimes you can take attacks on the flat of your blade. Not with a machete. I don't recommend it. It's much better to use your inexpensive machete and turn the edge into that blow and pick it up on the fort of your machete. Now I'm going to have Robert come in here, and I'm just going to have him cut number 12, and I'm going to show this reinforced block. As he cuts down, I'm going to get out of the way and just let that come right off. Let it come right off. Right there is your counter. So you see that coming. It's a big stroke. You get off line, and you get ready to counter. You see that stroke coming, reinforce it, and turn your body, get off your own riposte or your own counterattack. Cut his head off with your counterstroke, okay? That's one way to do it. From this side, if he cuts here, I may push into it just like this. Look at this. What I like to do, my machete's here, put my hand here, right there. It's flat. Notice my hand is flat. See that? It's not, my fingers aren't pushing out. I kept it flat. I put the blade in my palm, and I pushed into it. Now, I can swing it out of the way and cut him. There's lots of things you can do here. I can just come right up his arm and move that machete, pin it, keep working him over. Lots of stuff you can do with that reinforced blocking. So you can block this way, cuts forehand this way. I can block that way and put that barrier up, all right? My blade may be down. Here, I make him here and block this way. Pick it up, swing his hand all the way, cut his hand off, barge him, just like that. Wreck his balance and follow up. Play with reinforced blocking. Play with using your forearm to help you, your palm, and that reinforced palm grip. Try that with your partners. Use care and consideration. Go slow at first, then build up your speed, then build up your power till you're handling full power, heavy blows using reinforced blocking. So far, in teaching defense with the machete, I've concentrated on stopping blows with the edge, okay? Now I want to teach you how to redirect blows, and we call this the parry. To parry a blow, all you're going to do is redirect it or move it out of the way so it passes by you harmlessly. When I parry a jab, as that force comes in, I'm going to probably move my head slightly to the right, and I'm going to just knock it offline just a little bit as I move my head. If it's a hard jab, I'll probably push into it a little bit, okay? The same thing when you're parrying with your machete. You see that attack coming at your face. You're going to move a little bit. I like to take a half step, and I'm just going to knock that blow out of the way. I'm not going to swing from the bleachers. All I want is a light, deft redirection. If you hit his blade from the tip to the middle of the blade, somewhere in there, with yours, you're going to easily move it out of the way. Very easily move it out of the way. His force is coming straight forward. He has no power side to side. All his power is coming straight at you. All his power is behind that tip. He can't resist that slight pressure on the side of his blade. So when you're parrying, you always want to move your body out of the way. Now, you can step to your right, or you can step to your left. I find stepping to your right is a little bit more natural, but if you do it all the time, he'll key to that. Maybe he'll plan a following stroke. If your parry is successful, maybe he'll immediately say, oh, he always goes to his right. He'll make a plan for you. So sometimes if you see that, you may have to make a small adjustment and go to your left. You've got to vary your defenses. I've talked about this. I'm going to talk about it again and again and again. You can't use the same defense over and over again. A good fighter will soon figure that out and make a plan around your defensive response. So your defense has to change. If I parry this way, sometimes I'm going to have to parry this way. Sometimes I may have to drop my blade slightly to get it on the other side and to parry it. But if I go to the outside here and parry his blade here, I can monitor it. I know where that is. It gives me a chance to walk in on him and maybe deliver a really good cut or stabbing attack. So parrying can also set up a really nice riposte or a real nice counterattack. Now I'm going to have Robert come in here, and I don't want you to practice this at home without a 3 weapons rated fencing mask. So what I want you to do is one person, the attacker, he's going to measure. Robert's going to put his sword up, and he's going to measure just about where he has me. Now he's going to come back on guard, and he's going to go. And I'm going to move. Just like that. That's how you parry with your machete.
Lynn has taken you through a lot of the basics as far as blocking and defense. Let's go into a little bit of advanced material. So I'm going to bring Joe in. All right, so we're going to deal with the angle 1, or the forehand attack, and then we'll go into the backhand attack. So going on to the forehand attack, he already showed you the roof block. You know that you need to tuck the head, put the hand, probe with the hand. So the first one that I want to teach is after this hand comes in, I'm just going to pass it right here. I use my forearm, and it's going to press the machete out of his hand. So again, 1 is going to go right here, and then I just press it right out. Okay, let me do that again, this angle. So when he comes up, the 1 goes in here. See, I can come right here, and that's going to go in. Okay, the second way that I want to do it from the machete coming out is if I bring it down and my sword stays up, I put it against my body. Spin around. If you look, I'm putting the flat, either the dull edge. If it's a double edge, I'd put the flat to my rib. I'm going to pull as I hit. Do that one more time, please. So if I hit and my arm came out, if I don't feel right going here, and if it's up, I just put the flat or the blunt edge, and then I will take the disarm and with the strike. If you notice, when I do this, it doesn't disarm and then I hit. It is done together. What I mean is it's all one beat together as I go. Okay? So that'll be the second way, is to go right here, cut, and then go. Okay, the third way. Looks the same. I block it, roof block. I cut and I go through. But this time, if you look, I'm going to put it in the crook of my arm. I put the blunt edge or the flat edge. If it's a double edge, I don't know if I would try this, to be honest with you. This will peel it, and if you look right here, I come out with both machetes. Okay, so let me do that one again. I go 1. I cut through. This will hook thrust the face, and then we just go right into the double hand feed. So let me review it again. 1. I come out, see how my forearm presses it out, and I strike. 2, we're going to put it right on my rib and disarm and go. The third one looks the same. It comes down, but now my arm's in the way. Instead of going on my rib, the arm's in the way. This hook thrusts out, and then we go in with the double, for the double. So let me do it from this side. First one, forearm press. Second one on the rib cage. Third one, right here, the crook of the arm. Sorry about that. And then we'll go here. Okay? So that's how I want you to take it for the first part of this. I'll come back with a little more. Okay, before we go to the next block, I want to show hand sectors. This is going to help us through this whole area. So right now we're going to cross machetes. So when we hit right here, obviously there's a fragment in time that this would be in this position. Otherwise, he would either push through, push at me. He might be a little lack of power and retract it. Okay, you don't know where it's going to be, so that's going to dictate where my hand can insert. So when he comes in for the first one, this is our sector 1. The sector 2 will go right here. Sector 3. This is sector 4. Sector 5, if you can look at that, my hand comes in right under the butt of the sword, and it comes in right here. And the sector 6 looks the same way. It goes underneath, but underneath my sword. So the sector 5, the sector 6, and the sector 7 will trade and go here. Okay, so let me run through that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let me turn you around this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the 7 will go right here. Now, this is taught with sword, with stick. It's taught also, like if you had the two-handed sword, they'll let go with one hand. Okay, so it's transferable to different weapons. I just want you to know that. But for the machete, we're going to go here. So let's deal with the first sector, sector 1. When I go, I've already pretty much taught that to you, but from the roof block. So let's do it again. So we did it before from the roof block. Do you remember that? And I had all the 3 sectors. This time, if I'm here, I can just pass it. See, that goes here, and then we go. So the difference with it is it gives me the body cut. So if you look at Joe right here, he's taking it on the rib before I come in. So that's the sector 1, the one that I want you to have for the sector 1. Now look at, let me trade you. It's on my tricep, and when I go to cut, I pull this hand, and then it cuts. Okay? So one more time. Sector 1 goes right here, there, and then you go. Okay? The sector 2, like I said, is at long range. So if I could come in here, I will, and I'm back into this. But a lot of times they just pass it and they go. This just assists. Now Lynn had already shown you if you had to block it, obviously not with your arm like there, but if you had to parry it or if you had to get a hand on it. The sector 2 impedes the progress of the sword. I just pass it and then we go here. So this would be for long range. I just go right here and then cut. That's the sector 2. So very slowly, it goes here. This goes on the flat of the blade and just moves it by. So I'm just misguiding it. Obviously, if he's going with depth at me, I just pass it. Okay, one more time without cutting Nina. There, that's it. Okay, that's what I'm after with the sector 2. The sector 3, same thing at long range. They call this panipas in the Filipino martial arts. It's a butcher's term. It means to shave thin or shave the meat thin. And this goes right here. See it? And then they take it out. And we go here. So watch it slowly. I go like that. So now, freeze. This hand comes here. And I shave it. You see that one more time. I go 1, 2, I get that hand, and then I go. The idea is if I go here and if I in fear of a weapon, I hit it and then I go. Right here. If he's going to punch, he may have a knife. If I go like that, I go, nope, and then I just go right here. And then I cut it. Okay? See, the other thing is I could do it this way. Just freeze. When I go in here, this pulls it from underneath. If I go in here, it could come on top. You don't know which way you're going to go. It's going to be the way the person pushes or he dictates where I go. Meaning if his pressure's light, I might be able to control it. If the pressure's a little more of a push in or he's going to pull out, I might have to chase it and then come on top. You don't know which way he's going to go. You just go with it and he tells you which way you're going to go. That's our sector 3. Okay, going into sector 4 is in between. So when he goes 4, I just go here. I go underneath it right there. And then you go. Grab it. So the sector 4, right here, I just go right here. See the cut on the arm? See the check? See, I can take it this way also. All right, so we go here. Let me give you the solidify one for you. When I go into sector 4, if I keep it, I just press it out. Okay? If I don't feel I could keep it, then I go right back to what we were doing earlier. So come back one more time. If I don't feel I could keep it, I just go here, and that peels it right here. Okay, that's the sector 4 is in between. Right there, right there, right here. Okay, sector 5, when I go here, it's on top. I'm going to put my body in. Look at this. I wipe it across. Then I'm going to cut. Okay, so when the sector 5 goes, see, I go for the body. I step in. Can you see that? I just press that out and just go to work over here. Last time, sector 5, go in, I get the butt end of it, I cut, peel it out, and then we cut. In the Filipino martial arts, we'll call this the puño. Some people will say pommel, some people just say the butt of the sword. So right here, that's the 5. Okay, the sector 6 looks virtually the same. When I go here, this goes to the face. And then I'm going to step back in exactly the same way and go. Sometimes you don't know if you're going to be here, or maybe my hand retracted. So maybe I went here, ooh, I want to get that hand there. Or maybe I felt he was going to punch. So I go out like that, and then I take it out here. Okay, so that's our sector 6. So the difference between 5, and 6 is my hand's over my own arm, my hand is under my own arm. Okay, and that's going to bring us all the way to 7 is the trade of the hands. See the hit right here? See the thrust of the face, and then I eject. Now, certain people will put the sword in here and step this way, or they'll just hack it here. Okay? Or you don't have to deal with that. You can just go like that, and then just finish it. Okay? So one more time. I trade. Now, remember that thing at the start Lynn was talking about grips and trading? That's how we trade. It's almost like I'm disarming myself. I hook my own thumb in. I like to go under because I'm sure to get the grip. If it's going fast, you're scared, you're nervous, to me it's a safer, more sure way to exchange it. This is okay. It takes a lot of work. I like this. Okay? So again, the number 7, right there, eject it, go. Okay, so review one last time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's the 7 sectors off the forehand. Okay, we've dealt with the forehand. Let's go into the backhands now. We have a numbering system for this also. If he swings the backhand, we cross swords. It doesn't mean you'll stay there again. I gotta say that. I'm just freezing us, locking us in time. So the number 1 is at close range. So if I go like this, the 1 really isn't blade to blade. When he goes later, it's on the hand. So when I hit, I can go out and take the cut, okay? All right, so meaning if I go through here, my hand lays in here. Or when I go through here, I try to get flesh and then go. It doesn't mean we gotta stay here either. Like I said, I'm locking us in time. If I go like that, I go here. I hit and then I eject it and then you go, okay? All right, the number 2, basically the same thing, but I'm here. Now you're gonna see if I do get sword on flesh, and if I can't get through this hole right here because the gate's closed, I go where the opening is. So I'm gonna dig right through here. Do you see that? One more time. So when I go right through here. This is just gonna bring it down pretty much the same disarm. It's more of a feel thing because you'll say, oh, he's teaching the same thing, but it feels totally different when I go in this way and then go. Okay, so number 1, number 2. Number 3 is to the outside. So again, if I'm on flesh, this is good. I can get to the hand. If I'm on blade, I just got to move it and then go. Okay? You don't know where you're going to be. It depends on how much he's coming in or else how much you're retreating. Or it's just, if it's 100%, it's pretty good. I could probably get my hand on his hand or wrist. If somebody's like resisting a little bit or backing off and that full commitment's not there, there's no way I can get to his hand. So I just move it and I go right here. Okay? So this is going to be the number 2. Just pass it like that. Again, I'm not touching the edge. I just move it. If it's double edge, I'd probably be very ginger here about it or very reluctant to do that. I'm just being honest with you. So right here, 1, second one, number 2. 3 is going to be underneath. So when I do the 3 underneath, I can cut and I can go back for the ejection if I can get to his hand. Again, when I do it here, if I don't feel I can get to the hand, sorry, I got to the hand, let me not get to the hand. If I go through here, I don't feel it, again, I'll stay outside. But here, I move. You need that forward triangle. So up, right here, and then I'm just going to go with it. Okay, that's my number 3. Real slow. Here, I just move right through here. Eject, cut, cut. Okay? The number 4, underneath. Okay? I like to think of it, I'm at the arm, so now I just go right here with it. And then you go. Okay? So when we do the 4, I go, right there, there. And then you go. Okay, sorry about that, Joe. Okay, so one last time. So I go like that, see right there, and then I go in. All right, so now we're only going to do 5 in this one. So when I do the 5, well, actually there's actually 6, but they count it as 5, but it is a trade of the hands. See it? So when we go here, you go here, you trade it. Okay, again, you can go under it or you can disarm it here, eject it. But this is why I like to say it's 5 or 6. There are times where they'll take it reverse grip and they'll go here and they'll stick it in. I still prefer having the long end out, but you never know. You never know. It might just go here this way, so now you got to go and put it in that way. Okay, so let's count it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or we'll say 5. And then this right here. Okay? Try that out. Okay, now that Lynn's brought you through all of the blocks, let's put a couple together. We're going to drill it. So I'm going to bring Willie in. All right, he's going to start off with, I want him to give a straight overhead blow. When it comes straight, this is what we call the roof block. Now the sword or the machete will go at about a 45-degree angle. You're going to hide your head underneath it in the pocket. Don't leave your head straight over because if it collapses, it's going to go right into your head. So he's going to give the first blow. This is the roof block. This hand just will be, it either supports or will touch. Now, Lynn already showed you how to reinforce the blade, or you can reinforce it this way like he showed you. But right now, I just want you to kind of probe and just touch for now. All right? So when he gives the blow, 1. This is just going to come out and touch, or it could reinforce. All right, so when we go 1, the second blow he's going to give is at my left ear, and I will turn the machete straight up and down, and this is going to be our inside sweep will touch right here. So again, first 1. Then after he cocks back and he goes to hit, I change it by dropping my hand. The point is at 12 o'clock, and again, I can reinforce or I can touch. Be very, very aware of what you're doing with this. You don't want to just reach out and touch a live blade. What you want to do is, if you don't feel you could touch that hand, you don't touch anything. Okay? So we go 1, second one comes in, 2. Let me change sides so you can see it from this way. All right, so he's going to back up a little bit. He's going to come in. First one, second one will be right here. Now watch this. I'm going to leave the weight of my machete on top of his blade for now. This makes it a little weird because if he draws back, he knows that's going to come in at him. So usually he'll try to drop under. When he drops under, I'm going to go into what we call a shield. Now again, from the 1, then we're going to go to the 2, and then when this comes down, I track it. Now the reason I track it is if he gave the left ear hit and he goes to the right ear hit, if I come this way, if I'm lucky, I time it and I get the block. If my timing is off, it's going to slip through and get me. So by me tracking it as it goes through, look, I'm on it the whole way. So let me just do that again for you. As it goes, look at right here, it could stay connected if I wanted to. So I like being as cohesive as possible. So right from here, if it breaks away, if I'm late, it catches the sword. If I'm early, it catches the hand, which is preferable. All right, so let's start from the beginning. 1, 2, and then 3. So now I'm going to go and I'm going to return it at Willie. So he does the roof block, then he does the inside sweep, then he tracks me down and he goes right into the shield. Okay, my turn. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So right here, we're just going to flow with it. So we're just returning 3 for 3, which is a little strange for some people because everyone who does train this art, they're used to more of a one-on-one exchange. Right now, I am teaching him that it may come and he's got to recover maybe before he can get back to me. So we go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Again, we'll pick up the pace a little bit. Okay. All right, let me slow it down a bit. So just flowing with it. Keep flowing. Good. So we're just returning 3 for 3 on this first drill. Okay? You see it? So when we start off, let me start off again. Starts off with 1, a 2, and a 3. Then he hits me with 1, he hits me with 2, he hits me with 3. We just exchange back and forth. Okay, time. Now, we can make it 1 for 1. This is what a lot of people are used to, or you might be used to seeing, is the exchange. So he'll do the roof block, I do the inside sweep, he'll do the shield. And then we just flow this way with it. So right now we're just going 1 for 1. It's not an exchange of 3 each. So let's slow it for a second. All right, so he hits the 1, I return that second blow, he returns the 3. Roof block, inside sweep, shield. Back and forth. So it's not as if he's doing 3, he's doing 1. It's still the same 3 blocks, but now it's broken up to a give, take, give, take, give, take, instead of give, 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 and then return to give, give, give. Okay? So the first drill was 3 hits from one person. And then he would go 3 hits. The difference is the second drill goes 1 hit, 1 block, 1 hit, 1 block, 1 hit, 1 block, 1 hit, 1 block. Okay? So it's a good drill. So when you do this drill, it starts off roof block, inside sweep, and then the shield. And you could just flow with this on your own. This would be a warm-up drill that we would do. Roof, inside, shield. Roof, inside, shield. And you just flow with it right like that. It's good training. It teaches you where to put your hand in. to go for the manipulation of the blade. Meaning, if he goes with the 1, see, it could be the disarm would be right there, and you can do the hit. See, if he goes into here, saying with shield, I can eject there and then go. Or from the inside sweep, see, this could take it here. See, now, and can go back this way. Okay, so it's just a good drill to train, and it teaches your hand where to place it. Nothing's safe in this art. I don't want to say that, but the safest possible route to get in to be able to maybe manipulate that blade.
Up to now, I've concentrated on using the machete itself defensively to stop, hit, counter slash, block, and parry. I've taught you reinforced blocking. Now I want to teach you how to use your empty hand. Now earlier I said, shame on you if you fight with a machete without a weapon in your other hand. But it happens. So now I want to show you how to use your empty hand defensively. The first thing I'm going to show is a stop hit. And remember, the same principles apply to stop hit that do to the machete with the empty hand. When we're using the machete to stop hit, we're using a straight motion, a quick straight motion to interdict an oncoming attack and stop it before it hits us. It's the same thing with the live hand. If Robert comes out here, and you're going to use this when your machete is not available. I'm never, hardly ever going to, if Robert's on guard, I'm not ever going to do this as a main effort, okay? I'm only going to use my live hand when my machete, for whatever reason, isn't available. It's not going to be able to be put into play as fast as my live hand. So let's say that Robert's on guard, and I've swung and missed, and I see him go to load to hit me. Bang! I may stop hitting him right in the eye with a finger jab, okay? What you want to do, when you see him load, and your machete is faster to hit him with your live hand, my empty hand right here is going to spear right into that eye. Now, what I want you to do when you use this stop hit like this is your thumb is going to come down here and kind of curl and reinforce your index finger. All these 3 fingers are going to slightly bend, so they're reinforced. So you're just like this. I'll show it from this side, and I'll show it from this side. Now your goal is, like with the speed jab, no power, only speed. When you stop hit with a finger jab, all you want to do is get that in his eye. When this even comes towards his face, he's already putting on the brakes because he knows your body, human body, wants to defend the eye. So bang, you're going to stick that right in his eye. Now, it's unlikely you're going to put his eye out. It's unlikely you're going to actually blind him with this, but you could detach the retina. You could cause all kinds of damage. Without a doubt, what is going to happen is he's going to close that eye, and the other eye is going to close in sympathy. This eye is going to fill with tears, and so will that one. He's going to have very impaired vision immediately after you finger jab him in the eye. And it doesn't have to hit the eyeball. Anywhere in here, bang, it slides in here, it hits the corner. Anywhere in here, that hard strike into that eye, it's so close, there's so many nerves there, it's going to freak his eye out. It's going to freak him out, okay? There's one thing we all love, it's our vision. When our vision is threatened, it is a huge impact on our nervous system and our emotions, all right? So if you can, and your machete isn't available, the best way to stop a motion, a forward motion, is with a finger jab to the eye. Now, I'm only 5'9". Robert is 6'3". You can see it's a long reach for me, right? Sometimes I can't reach his eye. I see him to load, and I'm going to stop hit on his chest. Now, the thing I like about the chest, Ron and I have trained this quite a bit, is when I hit him on the chest here, a sharp one like that, it snaps his neck back, it snaps everything back. If I just use his arm, sometimes his arm turns and that one comes forward, okay? But when I stop hit his chest, when I see him coming here and I stop hit his chest, I knock him back. Let's come in a little bit more into frame. So when Robert cocks to hit me, bang, I stop hit his chest and knock him backwards, all right? The eye's the best. The eye, the chest, the arm, even the face. If you can't reach the eyes, bang, you can do a palm jab underneath his chin and stop hit him that way. What you want to do is you want to, his forward motion is like this. He's coming down. When his head tilts back, his forward motion is stopped. He's going to go like that. Now he's flailing. You want to get him back on his heels if you can with your stop hit. The eyes are really easy to do. Bang! Flick. Can't see. His head's going to go back. His chin. Bang! He can't see. Once his head's rocked back, here's his vision up here. He can't see anything down here anymore. Can't see anymore. It's physically impossible. The lesser choice would be to stop hit his shoulder, okay? Eyes, chin, chest. If I have to, I'll go here on the shoulder. After that, you can go down the bicep, or you can go on the forearm itself and stop hit that. Again, I can't stop a 25, 35-pound arm by doing this. It's got to have a shock to it. I've got to shock it. Now, when you stop hit the arm and the shoulder and the chest, you can't rest. You're not safe. All you've done is momentarily interdicted his motion. When I stop hitting him with the machete, and I'll go real slow, he starts to load, and I hit him in the face, I've done some real damage. I just slit his mouth wide open. I cut his lips, his teeth, maybe his gums. He's been really damaged. When I take my palm and I stop hit his shoulder, there's an impact there, and it's not going to feel good, but I haven't wrecked his ability to fight. You have to remember that. If your machete's out of the way and he loads to hit you, bang, bang, you better get back in the fight, dude. You can't rest after you stop hit. If you stop hit that, you better run to get to a place of safety, or you better stop hit and keep the attack going into him, okay? You can't rest after you stop hit. It only momentarily, for a very tiny fraction of time, stops that blow from descending or hitting you, okay? So you have to keep that in mind when you stop hit. Now you can stop hit from the backhand. When he backhands me here, I can stop hit on his shoulder. When he backhands me here, I can stop hit on his eye. Notice I had to go forward on the female triangle, and I went right off across his shoulder. Now, he's not wearing eye protection, so I'm not going to go any closer than that. The first one came right here to the corner of his eye. Bang! Okay? You can stop hit on either direction. When a big guy like this, it's hard to stop hit, all right? He's got such a big arm. Here, I might actually stop on his elbow, right? And then pass it out of the way and stick him with my machete, all right? Stop hit on heavy body parts, especially with big guys, needs power. A stop hit without power against a big opponent, he's going to crash through it and he's going to hit you. I'd be lying if I didn't tell you the truth. That's how you stop hit. Earlier, when I was teaching you about how to use your machete offensively, I taught you how to beat with the flat of the blade of your machete. Well, I want you to know that you can use your empty hand to beat also. Now, when you're beating with your empty hand, your goal is quite similar to what it was when you're using the machete. What you want to do is you want to redirect his machete to a safe position where you can slip past the point and get inside and enter, okay? You want to beat that blade out of the way. Now, if you're facing another machete, the nice thing is there's a good wide surface to attack. The dangerous part is right here, okay? So you can beat here, and you can beat on the top of the blade, or you can beat on this side. So either side or the back can be manipulated with your live hand. Now to beat, what I like to do is I want to flatten my hand out like this. And my thumb's going to come down here like this, and there may be just a slight cupping to my hand. Just a slight cupping. It might not be perfectly flat. Slightly cupped like that. Keep my fingers together so I hit with one flat pancake wedge type feeling. Bang, I hit him with that pancake in my hand. All right? So what I want to do is I want to beat his blade out of the way, or beat the hand holding his blade out of the way. Now I'm going to come in, Robert, have him come in here. I'm just going to go through this very slowly. Now this is another advantage. And shame on you if you don't have another weapon, but if you don't have another weapon, you can travel all over the world with a pair of leather gloves. In my pack, my day pack that I carry all the time is invariably a pair of leather gloves like this. Maybe you've heard of iron palm kung fu. Well, I have a thing I call leather palm kung fu. And putting on a pair of leather gloves increases your hitting and slapping power exponentially. And putting on a pair of leather gloves like this when you're fighting with a machete is an absolutely fantastic thing to do. You'll take a lot more chances and have a lot more opportunities if you have a pair of leather gloves on. So when I see Robert's blade out in front of him, I see, I'm moving around and he's threatening me with that point, and I see that. What I want to do is slap that blade out of the way. Just give it a slap, okay? as that blade comes out here, I have a couple choices. One, I can slap it here and go for the kill, or I can slap it here and now monitor it with this as I enter, all right? So you got a couple choices. The safest probably thing to do is to slap the blade and now monitor it with your oars. Now, the whole point of this slapping is to allow to get you to control this arm to enter close enough to kill him and take him out. All right? That's what I'm really going to do. I'm not going to, when I have a machete and I slap, I may be out here just to fudge with him, right? I'm just going to F with him because I want to disconcert him. I want to disorient him. I want to confuse him, right? I'm going to attack that blade. Okay, but I'm not going to do that with my puny little alive hand, my little empty hand here. What I want to do here is I just want to redirect, monitor, and control for a small fraction of time. Hear me well. I'm saying a small fraction of time. I want to bridge the gap. For whatever reason, my machete isn't available. Maybe I cut here and I see his blades there. I might slap it out of the way like this, run in on it and pin that and do that wrap stroke right in the head. Bang, just like that. Why did I wrap stroke him then? When I felt this, I knew it was too long to turn my edge. This was the fastest thing to do. Crack, right there in the face. Now, I can step back here and cut that hand off if I wanted to. This is why I keep talking about you need to be intimately familiar with all the offensive and defensive parts of your machete. I mean intimately familiar, so that you can use the tool that's closest and in the fastest manner to take out your opponent. It's really important. So again, when I slap, I want to move that point edge just offline enough so that I can step in. So it's almost never done just like this. It's either done this with the blade or I do it like this with my hand. And from here, I may insert my blade here and push in, control his elbow, and go right in on him. Or I can slap to this side and just kill him, okay? Just take him out. So you can slap with the inside of your hand or the outside of your hand. Now, the outside hand, you want to make sure that that hits flat, okay? You don't want to have your hand broken to smithereens hitting his machete. So what you're going to do is you're going to come here and you're going to slap it this way and knock it to the outside. See that blade? You're going to slap it out of the way. So you're going to slap it. Now you can almost come down here on the hand, just like that. That's something to practice. When you're practicing with your partner, you can come from here and just ride down. Whenever I ride down, what I try to do here is get a hold of this wrist, push it into that hip, but my real goal is to get it clear into that back hip. See how he starts to buckle there and lose his balance? I've controlled everything. Once he starts to buckle here, bang! There goes my machete right into the face. All right? So you slap to move him to get the cut, or you slap to monitor his blade, or you just slap and enter. Lots of different ways. Now, you can also slap down on the top of his blade. You can come over here and swing it out. What I like to do, if I get the top of his blade with my hand, I want to fling it from the side if I can. So I get here and I want to fling it out. Bang! There goes my machete right into his gut pile. So from the inside, I can slap it down, or from the outside, I can slap it down. Here, I want to slap it over here to the point hits his shoe. I want that to move. I want to slap it down and around here. Now I can barge him. See that? Just knock him sailing. Okay? Lots of things you can do after you slap. You need to get with your training partner and train beating with your empty hand. Use kindness, use consideration. Robert's a real tough guy. He's used to getting roughed up like me, but not everybody wants to go to this level to start. So start off slow, be gentle, be kind, be considerate, and you'll have a training partner for years. The next way I want to show you to use your empty hand defensively when you're fighting with a machete is how to parry with it. I've taught you how to parry with the machete. The principles are the same with your empty hand. Now, if you have a knife or a dagger or even a sharp stick in this hand, it's easier and safer to parry. But if you don't have those things, I'm going to show you how to parry. Again, just like when we were beating, I want your hand to be slightly cupped like this. Show it from this side, and I'll show it from that side. Okay? Just slightly cupped, not too much, but just a little bit to make that nice and rigid. Okay? You can use the inside of the hand, or you can use the outside of the hand and forearm to parry with. Now, when you're parrying a knife attack or a dagger attack, it's quite often possible to get your parrying hand on his wrist or forearm, okay? But when you're parrying a machete, the blade is so long, it's a long ways in to try to reach the wrist or forearm to parry on. When you're reaching all the way in, his blade's already struck you. It's the same thing, the same problem occurs if you practice much close-range knife fighting like I do. You'll find that quite often you have to parry very close to your body and you have to parry on the blade, because if you reach at close range to try to parry his forearm or wrist like you might do at medium range, the blade's already struck you. You're too late. You reached out past the incoming blade to hit the arm and the blade struck you. It's the same thing with the machete. I'll have Robert come in and I'll show you what I mean. Whenever you're practicing parrying or any attacks that come anywhere near your face or head, at the very minimum, put on safety glasses, and I prefer safety goggles even more. Or, better yet, a three weapons rated fencing mask. So let me slip these on. And when he extends his blade at my face, and I want to parry that, okay, look at the stretch I have. To reach his hand to parry with, right, I can barely do it. My timing has to be perfect. I mean, absolutely down to a gnat's eyebrow. If he stabs at me and I want to parry on his hand, if I don't have a lot of angulization, if I don't actually evade the thrust and then parry, I'm going to be struck. Now, if he does it the other way and he stabs at me and I parry on his blade, I've got a lot better chance of picking that up than trying to reach all the way in here and parrying on his hand. On a shortened blade, if he shortened his machete and just got, like that, and I come here, I can actually, when he stabs at my face, I can parry here. And he comes here, right on my face. Right here. I got a better chance to go at his hand. But with a long blade, an 18 or 24-inch blade, don't make this flipping mistake. If you're practicing knife fighting all the time, and you try to switch over to machete, and you try to parry and pick that thrust up like you normally do, you're going to eat his point right in the mouth, okay? If you practice with a small sword and a rapier like I do, you'll also get a better affinity for parrying on the blade. You can't possibly reach the hand with your parry, but the nice thing is, to parry the machete is you got, like I said, this flat spot right here. You've usually got an unsharpened back of the blade. The only danger spot is this edge. So if you're parrying flat or flat, you've got a good chance to deflect that incoming weapon hand and not injure your parrying hand at the same time. A very good chance. And it goes up even greater if you've got a leather glove on your empty hand. So the way I want you to drill this is one person's going to defend, the other one's going to attack. Now what Robert's going to do is he's going to get his distance right here. And what I want you to get used to is moving inside and outside, okay? Right now, because I've got my strong side forward, but I'm using my empty hand instead of my machete. If this was a machete, I'd want to step this way. But I think it's easier to push across this way than to pull across. This is a more natural motion and slightly more powerful. This is a little bit more unnatural motion. However, there's some advantages to both. If he stabs and I parry here, look at his whole inside line is opened. If I step here, this inside line, this line here is still covered by his arm and his blade. I have fewer choices. If I can step to this side, though, and parry it, I got his hand, I got his forearm, I got his bicep, I got his face, I got his live hand, I got his gut pile, I got his groin. Hey, there's a treasure trove of targets awaiting you. So this is why quite often with rapier and small sword, we'll parry and try to bring the blade to the outside to open up the inside lines. However, sometimes it can be a lot more difficult to do. But you need to practice parrying both as you step to the outside and as you step to his inside, all right? So the way you're going to drill this is he's going to measure and he's going to stab. If you can pull off this parry, and you see him stabbing, if you can pull this off here, sometimes I can replace with my blade. My blade's out of the way. I parry, I replace, I push that elbow, I turned him, crack, now I take him, all right? Same thing on the inside. If I parry here, I can get this. Or I can parry here and circle that arm. I can drag him right back into my point, right off his feet. Elongate that arm. I can stick him this. There's all kinds of things I can do if you pull off a successful alive hand parry. All right, continuing on using your empty hand, or a live hand, if you will, defensively, I'm going to teach you how to block with it. Now, blocking a stroke from a machete is not what you want to do with your empty hand, if at all possible. But you will. You'll block rather than have that cut come through and crash you on the side of the head or crash you in the shoulder or the neck. You'll definitely attempt to block it. If your machete isn't available, or you can't defend some other way, if you can't stop hit it, or you can't beat it out of the way, or you can't parry it, you may have to use passive blocking. What you're going to do is, you see that stroke come in, you're going to put your forearm in the way. You're going to put your forearm in the way. You're going to put your forearm in the way. You're going to put your forearm in the way. Now, if you want to minimize the damage to yourself, it's best to try to put your forearm against his wrist, hand, or forearm when you can. But sometimes you flat out can't do that. And that's when it's really good to have vamp braces on, or even a sweatshirt or a leather jacket. Anything that will start slowing down the edge of that machete will help you survive that cut and not be maimed. It may cut you, it may hurt, but it's going to slow that edge down. Now remember, a machete is primarily a tool. Most people aren't going to be carrying around razor-sharp machetes. The only one that's going to be carrying a razor-sharp machete is you. You make sure your machete is razor-sharp. It's very unlikely your enemy's machete is going to be sharp. I'll tell you a story from one of my game scouts in South Africa. He was trying to apprehend a poacher from Zimbabwe that was in the country illegally. They caught him poaching. He just killed an animal in a snare. He was starting to butcher it. We came on him. He took off running. Our fastest game scout started chasing after him. The guy started getting winded. He came to bay, pulled out his panga. My game scout had his panga or machete in his hand. He said to me later, he said, his panga looked sharper than my panga, so I threw at him with a rock. So not everybody's machete is sharp. You want to make sure that when someone looks at your machete, they go, I really don't want to fight that guy. His machete looks real sharp. But I'm telling you this story, this anecdote, so that you know that most people's edged weapons aren't near as sharp as they could be, especially machetes. They're primarily an outdoor agricultural survival tool, and they're not razor sharp. So when you use a passive block, you may have a really good chance of surviving the impact on your arm and not being maimed. So I'm going to call Robert in here, but you know if you let that blow go through on your neck, you could be killed or injured seriously for the rest of your life, so you're going to have to block. What I want you to do, when Robert cuts a downward angle number one, if you can, I want you to step in and get inside that arc and block this way. That's the highest and best use of blocking. You don't stand here like this inside the arc of his machete and do that, if you can. You're going to do this as a very last ditch effort. If you see him loading or you see that coming in, you want to get inside that arc and put your arm in the way like this. Now, when you're blocking, you've got to remember that you've only stopped the forward motion of that weapon arm for a tiny fraction of time. Hear me well. You have to do something immediately after blocking. If I'm in here like this and he cuts at me, I've got to go on the offense. I've got to move that arm. I've got to beat feet and get out of range. I've got to, maybe here, I've got to attack. I've got to do something. That arm is going to continue his attack. I've just stopped the motion. I can't allow him, when I block, to pull back and cut me again on that arm. Okay? That's what's going to happen. Maybe I block here, and I shoot through here, and I capture his elbow, and I drag him down into my headbutt. Okay? Maybe that's what I do. You have to have a plan. Your plan has to go past just blocking. That's not going to suffice. Okay? Now, try not to stand like a pillar of salt when you're blocking. When you're here like this, try to move. Take a slight angle. If I can go forward on this female triangle here and get inside that arc when I block, I have a lot better chance of controlling that and going to work on him with my machete. Okay? Try not to just stand here like this and throw your arm up and go, ah! Now you take that. Now, let's talk. I'm going to tell you everything I know. Let's say you take this. Hold your mud. You get this. Bang, right? Move it. If your arm's not flopping in the dirt and you get this, come over here, pass it to the other side. Take this arm, what's left of it, shove it in here, barge him, take him out. And when he's on the ground, no longer able to fight, you go and get the best medical attention you can. They can do wonders today in hospitals. So it's not the end of the fight if you get cut like that. Even if your arm is broken here, and he comes down here and he breaks your arm, as soon as you take that hit, you can counter, or you can pass his arm, and still use your broken arm. Shove it in here. Barge him with your body weight. Stab him in the face. Keep in the fight when you're blocking. What you don't want to do is have this machete descend on your neck. You don't want him to hit you in the neck, or you don't want him to descend on your head. You don't want to take that, okay? You don't want him to hit you in the head with that and crush your skull. Take it on your arm if you have to, but better yet, when it's coming down, step into it and block on his arm here, right? From here, he's so high, I'll just pass him to the other side, keep his arm up. Now, I can push him and run like a crazy this way and get away. All right? Now, you need to practice blocking from every single direction. Start out slow. If he cuts backhand, I come here, I block. If he cuts backhand, maybe I'm late, go ahead, and I take it here on my arm. Even if I take it here, if you take that here, let your arm full on it, hollow out. Right here, I can slap it. I can keep coming forward and continue my attack. Don't quit if you take the blade on your arm. Now, this is how you learn how to do this, is you practice this constantly at home. You try to both ways. One, I try to cuts backhand. I try to get here on his forearm and stop him and pass it, okay? And then go, okay? That's the highest and best use. Or he cuts, and I take it on the edge right here. Still, but my hand, maybe he didn't cut me so bad that I can't use his hand. This can pass that blade still, and I can come right in here and stick it right underneath his armpit. Now, the reason I did that armpit stroke, when I get my point in here, it's very hard for him to use his alive hand and stop that. It's too far over. So if I get cut backhand, I get here, and I come here. When I put my point there, I pretty much make it very difficult for him to stop that stroke. So sometimes when you're counterattacking, go very close to the attacking arm, and it precludes almost the use of his other defensive options, okay? It almost always scores. That's something to put in your gee whiz file for later, okay? Now, what I want you to do is you're going to learn to cut angles 1 through 12. I'm going to block, 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 Lulu, block, 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 block. Now what if he hits me? Come again. Bang! Block. Okay, cut again. Cut back in. Block! Cut him. Cut again. Cut him. Here, rides up. Don't quit. Practice actually taking some of the cuts on your arms, okay? Get used to that feeling of continuing the fight. That's how you block and survive with a machete.